What if you stopped waiting for someone to believe in you? What if, starting today, you stopped depending on approval, support, or applause, and finally took back your power? Let's be honest. There are moments when it feels like no one sees your effort. No one understands your dreams. No one claps for you. And in those moments, it's easy to wonder, am I wasting my time? You look around, hoping someone will say, "You've got this." But all you get is silence, doubt, rejection, or worse, nothing at all. But here's the truth the Stoics knew. You don't need anyone's belief to move forward. You don't need anyone's permission to build something great. And you definitely don't need the crowd to choose you before you choose yourself. This is your turning point. Today, you're going to hear 15 Stoic lessons that will reshape how you see rejection, silence, and doubt. These are not motivational quotes. These are weapons, armor, tools forged by minds who faced more silence, more criticism, and more resistance than most will ever understand, and still kept going. And by the time we're done, you won't care who believes in you, because you'll know exactly how to believe in yourself. So before we begin, I want you to make a simple but powerful promise in the comments. Starting today, I believe in myself. I am Stoic. This is not just a sentence. This is your new baseline. Every time you write it, you train your mind to stop waiting and start building, to stop begging and start becoming. So write it now, and let's begin. Number 1. Approval is an external currency. Spend internal wealth instead. Let's tell the truth. How many times have you held back because someone didn't clap for you? How many times did you question yourself because no one believed in your dream, no one supported your vision, no one said, "You're doing great"? It hurts, doesn't it? The silence, the doubt, the feeling that your effort doesn't matter unless someone else notices it. But here's the Stoic truth. You've been spending the wrong currency. You've been trying to buy confidence with applause. You've been trading your peace for approval. You've been waiting for someone to invest belief in you before you invest in yourself. The Stoics knew this trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, not for fame, not for followers, but just for himself. He said, "It's not what they say, but what you are." And that's the whole point. What you are, your discipline, your clarity, your focus, your values, is already enough. But you have to believe it. You have to stop waiting for outside validation and start living from inner wealth. Because here's the reality. Approval is an external currency. It's loud. It's unstable. It changes based on moods, trends, and other people's problems. One day, they praise you. The next day, they ignore you. If your self-worth is tied to their cheers, your peace will always depend on a crowd that might never show up. So stop borrowing your confidence. Own it. Build it. Spend from what you already have inside. Right now, you have internal wealth that no one can take from you. You have your effort, your discipline, your truth, your word, your habits. These things are your bank. They are your solid gold. When you wake up and choose to train even though no one's watching, that's internal wealth. When you write, create, build, or plan with no likes, no views, and no applause, that's internal wealth. When you hold your values strong even though the world doesn't care, that's internal wealth. You don't need anyone to validate your dream. The moment you decide that your effort is enough, your whole world changes. You become unshakable, because nothing outside of you can touch the wealth you build within. And let me tell you this, when you stop chasing approval, something powerful happens. You gain freedom, real freedom, because you are no longer owned by the crowd. You are no longer controlled by praise or silence. You are your own compass. Start seeing approval for what it is. Nice, but unnecessary. Helpful, but never required. Let go of the hunger to be seen. Instead, feed your soul with effort, with honesty, with your own quiet progress. Every day you show up, even when no one claps, you grow richer inside. So when the world is silent, when the people around you don't understand, when the belief is missing, don't panic. Smile. That's silence, that's space, that's your clean slate, that's your empty ledger. You don't owe anyone anything. You've got everything you need already. Inside, spend from within. Let your actions be your loudest voice. Let your habits be your applause. Let your soul be the audience. You don't need belief to begin. You only need the courage to keep going. That's Stoicism. That's power. That's wealth that never runs out. Number 2, the silent climb builds the strongest legs. Let's be honest. Doing things without being seen can feel frustrating. You put in the effort, the hours, the sweat. You stay up late, you wake up early, you keep moving forward, and no one notices. No one claps. No one even seems to care. It's easy to feel like the climb isn't worth it. Like maybe you're wasting your energy. Like maybe, just maybe, you should stop. But that's not how a Stoic thinks. That's not how a warrior climbs. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds in history, believed something very few people understand today. Solitude is a forge. It's not punishment. It's purification. It's not the absence of support. It's the beginning of self-reliance. Because when you climb in silence, something powerful happens inside you. Your motivation gets sharper, cleaner. You stop doing things for applause. You stop working to be seen. You stop craving attention like it's oxygen. And that's when real strength is born. The silent climb tests you. It asks, can you keep going when no one watches? Can you train when the gym is empty? Can you study when the world is partying? Can you stay focused when nobody texts, nobody checks in, and nobody claps? And if you can, then you become dangerous. Not dangerous to others, but unstoppable in your own path. Think about it like this. Every step you take alone builds strength most people will never understand. Each silent repetition, each quiet sacrifice, each unnoticed improvement, that's your training. That's your character being built in the shadows. It's easy to look strong when everyone's watching. It's easy to act motivated when people are cheering. But what about when it's just you? No music, no motivation video, no applause, just the mountain and your will. That's when the strongest legs are built. And here's the beauty of it. When you finally get to the top, you'll realize you didn't need the noise. You didn't need the crowd. You didn't need the belief. You just needed to keep moving. Every step was yours. Every bruise, every lesson, every win, earned in silence. By the time they notice, you're already too high up for the noise to reach. The doubters? They're far below. The critics? They can't climb like you did. And the applause? It's nice, but unnecessary. Because now you stand on ground built by your own effort. So if you're climbing right now and no one sees you, keep going. Let that silence sharpen you. Let the loneliness teach you agility. Let the lack of applause strengthen your will. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The Stoic doesn't ask for the path to be easy. He only asks for the strength to keep walking it. Climb in silence. Train without praise. Rise without being noticed. Because what's being built right now, inside your mind, inside your soul is something unshakable. And one day, when the world finally looks up, it won't matter if they believe in you, because you'll be standing somewhere only the quiet climbers reach. Number 3, obscurity is a fortress for virtue. Let's face it, everyone wants to be seen, to be recognized, to be told you're doing great. But when that recognition never comes, when your efforts live in shadows and your progress goes unnoticed, it's easy to think something's wrong, like you're falling behind, like you're being punished, like life forgot about you. But what if you've misunderstood obscurity all along? The Stoics saw things differently. They didn't chase fame, they avoided it. They believed fame wasn't a reward for virtue, but a threat to it. Because when too many eyes are watching, it's easy to start performing instead of becoming. Easy to act good instead of being good. Easy to live for praise instead of purpose. So when no one sees you, when your work is invisible and your name goes unspoken, you are not cursed. You are protected. You are being trained in a fortress that few recognize, a sacred space where real strength and real character can be built without corruption. Because the truth is, the world can't ruin what it hasn't touched. Right now, your obscurity is a gift. No expectations, no pressure to please, no spotlight to blind your focus. In this quiet season, you're not just surviving, you're sculpting. You're crafting the foundation of a life that will not crumble when the world finally turns its head. Ask yourself this: what if the thing you're calling loneliness is actually sacred privacy? What if this season of being unseen is the safest place for your soul to grow? The Stoic embraces this. He doesn't need applause to do what is right. He doesn't need the world's eyes to stay disciplined. He doesn't fear obscurity. He values it because he knows that the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. And roots grow in darkness. So if no one's watching, if no one's calling your name, if your inbox is empty and your follower count is frozen, don't panic. Don't chase the noise. Stay in the forge. Let the heat of repetition purify you. Let the silence harden your purpose. Let the solitude sharpen your clarity. Because this is your fortress, and in it you are safe from distraction, safe from ego, safe from the noise that pulls others off their path. Later, if the world ever sees you, you'll be ready. Not because you performed, but because you prepared. Not because you were famous, but because you were forged. So don't resent the darkness. Don't fight the silence. Obscurity is not a prison, it's protection. It's the sacred space where your virtue gets stronger than fame ever could. And remember, what the world can't see, it can't corrupt. Let them overlook you. Let them doubt. Let them miss it. While they look away, you'll be building something too solid to break, because the Stoic doesn't need to be seen. He only needs to be true. Number 4, belief is a mirror. Let theirs stay empty. Let's tell the truth. When someone doubts you, it stings. When they laugh at your goals, when they question your path, when they roll their eyes or say, "That'll never work," you feel it. Deep down, there's a little voice that wants to fight back, to prove them wrong, to scream, "Just watch me." But the Stoic doesn't waste breath on noise. Epictetus said it best: what offends you only does so because you cooperate. In other words, their doubt only becomes your pain if you agree to let it inside. Let that sink in. Someone's belief, or lack of it, is not a reflection of who you are. It's a mirror of who they are, their limits, their fears, their history, their small frame of the world. If they can't see your potential, that doesn't mean it isn't real. It just means their mirror is foggy. So why spend your life trying to fix their mirror? Let them hold it, empty, blind, cracked. Let them reflect their own fears while you stay focused on your craft. You are not here to be seen. You are here to become. Think about sculptors. They don't shout at people passing by. They don't explain every hammer strike. They just keep chipping, quietly, repeatedly, focused only on the figure within the stone. That's what your journey should look like. Their disbelief, not your concern. Their confusion, not your burden. Their silence, not your signal to stop. Because becoming is not a public event. It's a private contract between you and your virtue. You owe them nothing, not a reaction, not a speech, not a single ounce of your energy. That energy belongs to your next step, your next rep, your next decision. Every time you choose to explain yourself, you pause your sculpting. Every time you defend your dream, you delay its birth. And why should you explain something they're not equipped to understand? The Stoic holds steady. He lets the crowd doubt while he builds. He lets the noise pass while he listens to his values. He lets the world misjudge him because he knows the only judgment that matters is his own. Let their mirror stay empty. It's not your job to fill it. You are not their reflection. You are your own. You're carving a life in stone, not fog. So the next time someone doubts you, don't flinch, don't fume, don't even respond. Let them keep their opinion. Let them cling to their disbelief. While they stare into an empty mirror, you'll be too busy sculpting your truth, one disciplined strike at a time. That's Stoicism. That's power. That's freedom. Number 5. The Stoic builds in private what others worship in public. We live in a world that loves to perform. Everyone is posting, sharing, broadcasting, trying to look successful before they are successful, trying to be seen before they're steady, trying to impress instead of improve. But a Stoic takes the opposite path. A Stoic builds where no one's looking, because real greatness isn't loud, it's not flashy, it's not something you need to shout about. It's built in silence, in private, in the hours no one sees. Think about Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men to ever walk the earth, Emperor of Rome, a man with an entire empire at his feet. And yet, he didn't spend his time crafting speeches for glory or posing for statues. He sat alone, writing in his journal, questioning himself, grounding his thoughts, staying humble. Why? Because he knew something most people forget. The private foundation determines the public legacy. What you practice in secret is what you become in public. And if you skip the secret work, then the public praise is just an empty echo. So if no one's clapping for you yet, good. That means you're in the perfect place to build something solid, to develop your skills, to test your character, to strengthen your mind, not to show off, but to become undeniable, not to impress, but to be prepared. The Stoic doesn't crave the spotlight. He craves strength. He craves clarity. He craves truth. He trains in the shadows, not because he's hiding, but because he knows the real work isn't glamorous. That early morning routine, that late night study session, that long walk where you reflect instead of scroll, that's where the real progress lives. Not in applause, not in followers, not in compliments, in effort, in solitude, in repetition. Don't beg to be seen. Don't chase approval. Don't build for the camera. Build for your soul. Build for your future self. Build for the day when the results speak so loudly that you won't need to say a word. The Stoic prepares, not to show off, but to show up, day after day, quietly, strongly, with no need for praise, no hunger for validation. And when the time comes, when the world finally turns to look, they won't see noise. They'll see structure, discipline, presence, mastery. That's the difference between being noticed and being known. One fades, the other lasts. So today, don't ask, who's watching? Ask, what am I building? Let the crowd pass by. Let the spotlight swing somewhere else. You don't need it, because when you build with intention in the silence, you become a force too solid to ignore. That's not luck. That's not hype. That's Stoic architecture, unshakable, timeless, and completely yours. Number 6. Rejection is just another trial of endurance. Let's not sugarcoat it. Rejection hurts. Whether it's someone walking away, an opportunity slipping through your fingers, or a dream getting delayed again, it cuts deep. It makes the heart heavy. It makes the mind question. And it whispers a dangerous lie. Maybe you're not good enough. But that's not what the Stoic hears. The Stoic hears something different. This is the test, not the end, not the proof of failure, just another trial, another rep, another stretch of the road that must be walked to build endurance. Zeno, the man who founded Stoicism, didn't start as a philosopher. He didn't begin on top of a mountain with a perfect plan. He was shipwrecked, literally. He lost everything. His boat sank. His fortune vanished. And instead of drowning in misery, he found something far more valuable: philosophy. He turned his wreck into wisdom. So, what's your version of the shipwreck? A failed relationship? A job rejection? A dream that hasn't bloomed yet? Whatever it is, the Stoic lesson is simple. Rejection doesn't mean stop. It means grow. Every no is a weight added to your mental training. It's resistance. And just like in the gym, resistance is what builds strength. The more you face it, the more unshakable you become. But only if you keep moving. Only if you stay in the game. Think of it like this. Each rejection is just another checkpoint on your endurance course. You haven't failed. You've been asked, how bad do you want this? And the Stoic always has an answer. Enough to keep going. So the next time someone turns you down, turns you away, or turns their back, don't flinch. Don't break. Don't start doubting your worth. Instead, take a breath, tighten your grip, and walk forward anyway. Because the Stoic doesn't need everyone to say yes. He only needs one thing: the will to continue. That's the real test, not how many people support you, not how many doors open for you, but how you respond when they close. You have two options. You can see rejection as a stop sign or as a redirection, a chance to sharpen, a moment to build endurance, a reason to double down, not give up. And let's be clear, rejection doesn't define your value. It reveals your resilience. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who never heard no. They're the ones who didn't let no become their story. So if rejection shows up today, welcome it. Say thank you, add it to your training log, and keep walking your path with steady steps and clear eyes. Because the Stoic doesn't quit when it gets hard. He doesn't fold when ignored. He doesn't beg to be chosen. He chooses himself. He keeps climbing. He finishes the course, not for the trophy, not for applause, but because that's who he is. Rejection is not the end. It's fuel. And the Stoic? He turns every setback into a stronger stride. Every time. Number 7. If the crowd must approve, the crowd also owns you. Let's be honest. Everybody wants to feel understood. Everybody wants support. We want to be seen, to be appreciated, to hear the words, "I believe in you." And when we don't hear them, when people don't get it, don't support it, or don't show up for it, it's easy to start questioning everything, to shrink, to second guess. But the Stoic doesn't chase approval, because the moment you need the crowd, you give the crowd power over you. Seneca said it best: "He who needs no master is already free." Now think about that. If your confidence rises and falls based on who claps for you, you're not in control. If someone else's opinion can break your spirit or fuel your motivation, then it means you've handed them the keys to your emotional thermostat. That's not freedom. That's emotional slavery. That's letting your peace hang on a string held by people who don't even understand your path. So ask yourself, who really owns your mind? The crowd or your core? Because the more people you try to impress, the more pieces of yourself you have to hand out. You become scattered. You stretch yourself thin. You bend your values to fit expectations. And all for what? Temporary approval? That's not Stoicism. That's noise. The Stoic knows something better. Freedom comes when you no longer require anyone to understand. It's not bitterness. It's clarity. The fewer people that get you, the more space you have to grow without interference. You don't need to be admired. You need to be focused. Let their absence be your advantage. Let their silence become your sanctuary. Because without the noise of the crowd, you can finally hear yourself think. You can build without pressure, create without compromise, train without distraction. You can go deep, go slow, go strong. You don't need a fan base, you need a foundation. So if the crowd doesn't believe in you today, that's fine. Maybe they're not supposed to. Maybe their doubt is your doorway. Maybe their confusion is your clean slate. Why make belief a leash? Cut the rope. Walk alone. Grow in peace. Focus on mastery, not marketing. On discipline, not drama. On purpose, not performance. Because once you stop needing applause, something amazing happens. You become unshakable. No one can take away what they never gave you. You no longer rise with cheers or fall with criticism. You just keep going. So today, if you feel ignored, dismissed, or misunderstood, don't shrink. Smile. You're free. Free to grow. Free to move. Free to master your craft in silence. And when the world finally looks up, when they wonder where you came from, you won't need their belief. You'll already be beyond their reach. Number 8. Become the artist who needs no gallery. Let's be real. Everyone wants their work to be seen. Everyone wants to be noticed, celebrated, validated. Artists want galleries. Writers want publishers. Creators want an audience. And somewhere deep inside, it feels like until someone gives you a platform, your work doesn't really count. But the Stoic doesn't wait to be discovered. He doesn't wait for a spotlight, a deal, or permission. He creates anyway, because true creation doesn't need an audience. It needs commitment, it needs soul, it needs consistency, especially when no one's looking. You have to become the artist who doesn't need a gallery. That means writing when no one reads, speaking when no one listens, building when no one claps, training when no one's watching. Not because it's easy, but because that's when it's real. The Stoic knows that the future version of yourself, the one others will one day respect, is being built right now, not later, not when the followers arrive, not when the money shows up. Now, in silence, in private, with unshaken hands. And here's the truth. The world doesn't make you great. The crowd doesn't give you skill. The gallery doesn't give your work meaning. All of that comes from what you do when nobody's watching. If you can create without needing praise, you are free, you are powerful, you are dangerous, in the best way. Because the moment you stop waiting to be discovered, you unlock something few people ever find: inner permission. The Stoic doesn't ask, will they like it? He asks, is this true to my values? He doesn't chase trends, he builds truth. Slowly, quietly, daily. So if you're in a season where no one sees your effort, don't despair. Rejoice. That's your training ground. That's your sacred space. The spotlight is a distraction. Right now, your only job is to create like it already matters, because it does. Every word you write, every idea you refine, every hour you spend sharpening your craft. That's the real currency of mastery. And it doesn't need applause to grow in value. The world may not be watching yet, but the future version of you is. And that version, the one they'll eventually admire, it's being born in this exact moment, through your quiet discipline. So stop waiting for the gallery. Stop waiting for the deal, the break, the someday. Be the artist who paints because his soul demands it. Be the builder who builds because his hands were made for it. Be the Stoic who crafts in silence because he knows the world can't reward what it doesn't understand. And it doesn't have to. Because by the time they're ready to look, you'll be ready to show. Not because you chased them, but because you never needed them in the first place. Number 9. Their doubt is just a shadow. Stand where it can't reach. Let's be honest. Doubt from others can feel heavy. When people say, that's unrealistic, or you'll never make it, or be careful, don't aim too high, it can sting. Even if you act tough on the outside, that little voice inside starts to whisper, what if they're right? But the Stoic sees something most people miss. Their doubt is not truth, it's just a shadow. A shadow is not real. It has no weight. It can't touch you. It only appears when something blocks the light. And that's exactly what doubt is. A dark projection formed when someone else's fear stands between them and your potential. And guess what? That fear has nothing to do with you. People doubt what they don't understand. They doubt what's different. They doubt what they've never had the courage to chase themselves. But just because they can't see your path clearly doesn't mean your path doesn't exist. Epictetus wouldn't argue with a shadow, and neither should you. The Stoic doesn't waste time explaining his light to people stuck in darkness. He doesn't try to shrink himself to fit their limited view. He doesn't say, please believe in me. He just keeps moving, forward, upright, steady, because he knows the truth. You don't overcome doubt by convincing others. You overcome it by continuing. So let them doubt. Let them whisper. Let them cast their shadows. But don't stand in it. Stand in the sun of your own reason, the sun of your preparation, the sun of your discipline. When you live with purpose, when you build with clarity, when you move with inner conviction, their shadows can't reach you. The more they doubt, the taller you stand. You don't need to prove them wrong. That's not Stoic. That's ego. You're not here to fight shadows. You're here to master yourself. And in doing that, doubt fades on its own, because nothing silences disbelief like undeniable results. And those results, they don't come from arguing. They come from consistency. So when you hear doubt, don't take it personally. See it clearly. Understand it for what it is, their own limitation, disguised as advice, their fear, packaged as concern, their small world projected onto your vision. Smile at it, then step out of it. Because when you walk in your truth, when you hold your head high, when you take steady action in the direction of your values, you rise above the shadows. And up there, in the sunlight of your reason, their doubt becomes what it always was, a powerless ghost. Let it fade. Keep walking. Stand tall. Number 10. The strongest faith is self-faith without audience. Let's be honest. Sometimes it feels good to be told, "You're doing great." A compliment, a like, a pat on the back, a nod of approval. It can light you up, even if just for a second. But what happens when that applause disappears? What happens when the crowd goes quiet? Do you stop? Not the Stoic, because the Stoic's fire doesn't need wind to burn. His fuel is internal, his faith is self-fed. His confidence doesn't rely on clapping hands, it relies on consistent hands. When no one claps, the Stoic claps internally. When no one notices, he nods to himself. I showed up today. I did the work. I stayed the course. And that nod, that quiet internal validation, it's stronger than any standing ovation. The Stoic knows that the moment he depends on the crowd, he becomes a slave to it. So he detaches. He builds a life where praise is nice, but irrelevant. He doesn't train for applause. He trains for strength. He doesn't act to impress. He acts in alignment with his values. Because here's the truth. The loudest thing you can ever do is not speak. It's act. Applause is noise. Action is volume. Results are echoes. So instead of seeking approval, seek progress. Instead of waiting for someone to say, "Well done," say it to yourself every time you follow through, every time you finish what you started, every time you resist the urge to quit, to please, to explain, to beg. That is where true faith is born, not in public, but in private. Not from others, but from within. You have to be willing to walk alone with your head high. You have to trust your vision when no one else sees it. You have to stay rooted in your mission, even when the world scrolls past without noticing. And that kind of self-faith, it doesn't come from words, it comes from action, from keeping your promises to yourself, from showing up when it would be easier to stay down, from making progress when no one's watching. Every day you follow through, your belief grows, not loud, but deep. And that deep belief, that's what makes you unstoppable. Because when your confidence comes from action, not audience, you're free. You don't flinch when people doubt. You don't break when they mock. You don't slow down when they're silent. You just keep moving, forward, grounded, lit from within. Let the world watch, or don't. Let them applaud, or don't. It doesn't matter. Because the Stoic walks with faith born from effort, built from action, proven through repetition. And that kind of faith, it can't be shaken, it can't be stolen, because it was never given to him in the first place. It was earned, alone, in silence, and that's what makes it unbreakable. Number 11. The empty stadium is the perfect training ground. Picture this. You're standing in the center of a massive stadium. The seats stretch into the sky, but they're empty. No cheers, no clapping, no lights, just silence. Most people would feel discouraged, alone, forgotten, but not the Stoic, because the Stoic doesn't train for attention, he trains for mastery. And an empty stadium, that's sacred ground. No distractions, no eyes to impress, no pressure to perform, just you and your discipline, just you and your craft, just you and the raw, honest truth. Do I love this enough to do it with no one watching? That's the question, and that's the test. The world trains people to chase performance for attention, but Stoicism flips the script. The Stoic doesn't perform to be seen, he performs to be excellent. quietly, consistently, without applause, without permission. Because the best work is often the work no one sees. The early mornings, the late nights, the boring reps, the writing sessions where no one reads, the workouts with no before and after photos, the deep thinking done in silence. That's where greatness is born. That's where your edge is carved. And when you can master your craft without the audience, without needing someone to clap or validate or witness, it means you've tapped into a different kind of strength, one that doesn't disappear when the crowd walks away. Because here's the truth. When the crowd leaves, most people stop trying. Their fire dies with the noise. Their drive fades when the attention fades. But the Stoic, he's just getting started. The empty stadium isn't discouraging. It's freeing. There's no one to perform for, so you can go deeper. No one to impress, so you can focus harder. No one to distract, so you can improve faster. That's where the sharpest skills are shaped. In silence, in stillness, in solitude. So if your life feels like an empty arena right now, no recognition, no applause, no good job, don't retreat. Don't slack. Don't question your worth. Double down. Lean into the silence. Treat every quiet rep, every unseen effort like it matters, because it does. And when the crowd eventually returns, you won't need them, because the work will already be done. And if they never come, you'll still win. Because the Stoic doesn't train for praise, he trains for progress, for principle, for personal greatness. So step into your empty stadium today, not with shame, but with pride. There's no better place to become unstoppable. Number 12. Use their silence as silence training. There's a kind of silence that speaks louder than words. It's not peaceful, it's not gentle. It's the silence of being ignored, overlooked, unseen. You send the message, but no one replies. You share the idea, and no one listens. You show your effort, and no one claps. That silence can feel like a wall. But Epictetus had a different view. He taught that a Stoic trains under all conditions, not just when it's easy, not just when it's loud, not just when people are watching. Even silence is part of the training, and for the Stoic, silence becomes the dojo. That's your new mindset. When no one believes in you, that's not emptiness. It's opportunity. When the world says nothing back, that's not a verdict. It's a mirror. And what you do in that silence, that's what reveals your discipline. You see, anyone can stay motivated when people are cheering. Anyone can stay consistent when there's feedback, encouragement, and applause. But what about when there's none? No replies, no likes, no validation, just the quiet. Most people shrink. They take it personally. They think, no one believes in me, so maybe I shouldn't believe in myself either. But the Stoic thinks differently. The Stoic hears silence and thinks, perfect, let's train. Because silence sharpens your intentions. It strips away ego. It asks you one clear question. Would you still do this if no one responded? If the answer is yes, then you've already won. Because now your effort is pure. You're no longer working for noise. You're working for growth, for peace, for mastery. And in that dojo of silence, you become fluent in the quiet. You learn to listen to yourself. You learn to find rhythm without applause. You develop a strange calm, not because everything's easy, but because nothing can shake you. The Stoic doesn't need noise to act. He doesn't need belief to begin. He doesn't require a crowd to show up, because he's trained himself to move through stillness, to work through silence, to stay true even when the world is absent. That's real strength. So, If you're surrounded by silence right now, if the phone doesn't ring, if the messages go unread, if the doors don't open, don't panic. Just nod to yourself and say, "This is silence training." And then keep going. Calmly, firmly, without complaint. Let the silence mold you, not break you. Let it stretch your patience. Let it purify your purpose. Because the one who can endure the quiet without needing noise, that person is free. That person is focused. That person is dangerous. The world's silence will either drive you mad or shape you into something unshakable. Choose molding. Become fluent in the quiet. That's where the Stoic grows. Number 13. You don't need a witness to make a promise to yourself. Let's be real. Most people only make promises when someone's watching. They say they'll start the diet, fix the habit, build the dream, but only when they can post about it, only when they can announce it, only when there's a witness to nod and say, "Wow, good for you." But the Stoic doesn't operate like that. He makes promises in private, and he keeps them in silence. Because to a Stoic, the most sacred contract is not made with the world. It's made with the self. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't even need a calendar date or a special moment. It just needs one thing: repetition. Daily, quietly, with intention. If you tell yourself, "I will be disciplined," then let that promise echo through your actions, not through your words. If you say, "I will rise early," then rise. If you whisper, "I will not quit," then keep going. You don't need to post it. You don't need to prove it. You only need to live it. Because every time you follow through on a promise you made to yourself, you're building something most people never develop: self-trust. And self-trust, that's rare. That's power. Most people are used to breaking their own word. They say they'll change, but they delay. They say they'll commit, but they wait for motivation. They need someone else watching to stay on track. But not the Stoic. The Stoic doesn't need permission. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need anyone to believe in the vow except himself, because he understands, if you can't trust your own word, what can you trust? The Stoic treats his inner promise like a sacred bond. He doesn't swear by it. He simply becomes it, through repetition, through resilience, through quiet alignment between intention and action. And here's the magic. The more you keep your private promises, the stronger your inner foundation becomes. You don't need motivation. You don't need hype. You don't need anyone to check on you. You just show up, because you said you would. You become a fortress of follow-through. So if there's something you've promised yourself, maybe to show up, to stay sober, to stay calm, to finish what you start, then keep it. Not for them, not for a post, not for a quote, for you. And every day you honor that vow, especially when no one sees. You're building the kind of confidence that can't be faked, the kind of trust that doesn't waver, the kind of integrity that no one can steal. You don't need a witness. You don't need a badge. You don't need anyone to say, "I'm proud of you." Be proud of yourself, and then prove it, not with noise, but with consistency. The Stoic knows a vow is not made real by being spoken. It's made real by being lived. And the most powerful promises are the ones you keep when no one's looking. Number 14. The road without followers is the one worth mastering. Let's tell the truth. Walking alone feels strange. When you choose a path no one else is on, when you make decisions no one else understands, when you take steps that lead into silence instead of a crowd, it can feel like you're lost. But what if the quiet road is the one that matters most? What if no one following is not a warning sign, but a confirmation? The Stoic knows something most people forget. Popular paths are easy to find, but rare paths build legends, and rare paths by nature are lonely at first. When you walk where others won't, you have to face doubt. You have to face whispers. You have to walk without maps, without applause, and without followers. And that's exactly where your strength is born. The Stoic doesn't wait for someone to lead the way. He doesn't pause to ask, "Is this path approved?" He doesn't look over his shoulder to see if anyone is coming along. He walks. Why? Because he doesn't follow crowds. He follows virtue. And virtue isn't loud. It isn't trendy. It doesn't travel in packs. It calls you inward, deeper, sharper. And if you listen closely enough, it gives you direction. That's your compass now, not popularity, not praise, not permission. Your compass is your clarity, your values, your purpose. And when that compass points toward a quiet road, a strange road, a road no one else is on, that's when you dig in your heels and say, "This is it." Because if you only walk paths that are crowded, you'll only go where others have already gone. But if you want to build something rare, something unshakable, something truly yours, you have to be willing to keep walking when no one walks with you. You have to stop seeking confirmation from people who've never seen what you're building. The Stoic walks alone not because he's better, but because he's focused. He doesn't fear isolation. He welcomes it, because in that space there's room to think clearly, to act cleanly, to live deeply. So if your road is empty today, keep walking. If they don't understand you yet, keep walking. If you've been mocked, ignored, or told to turn back, keep walking. Because this road, the one no one follows, it's the one worth mastering. It's where you'll find peace, power, purpose. And one day, when others finally look up, they won't see someone who got lucky. They'll see someone who stayed the course. And you won't need to say a word, because you didn't need followers to find your way. You needed faith in your compass, in your mission, in your steps. The Stoic walks alone, not because it's easy, but because it's right. And that makes all the difference. Number 15. Let your silence be louder than their doubt. Let's face it, when people doubt you, the urge to respond can be overwhelming. To defend, to argue, to prove them wrong right now. You want to say, "Watch me, you'll see." You want to shout back through the noise. But the Stoic knows something deeper. Silence is the sharpest reply. We live in a world that never stops talking. Opinions fly like arrows. People shout to be heard, even when they have nothing to say. In that kind of noise, silence isn't weakness, it's control. When they mock you, be silent. When they ignore your effort, be silent. When they question your dream, laugh at your ambition, or brush off your progress, stay silent. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you've chosen something stronger to speak with: results. The Stoic doesn't waste energy proving himself with words. He puts that energy into action, into building, into becoming, into perfecting his craft, so that one day, when the world circles back and asks, "How did you do it?" he won't need to explain. He'll just smile, because silence shaped into outcomes is louder than any speech. Your silence becomes your shield. It becomes your fuel. It becomes your edge. When everyone else is distracted by trying to be heard, you will be quietly stacking proof, quietly building legacy, quietly mastering what they said you couldn't. And when you arrive, because you will arrive, it won't be noise that announces you. It will be presence, unshakable, grounded, earned. That's the Stoic's way. No tantrums, no Twitter debates, no energy wasted on the crowd's opinions. Just work, just discipline, just relentless movement forward. The Stoics' revenge is never petty, it's never loud, it's quiet success, built brick by brick in silence, delivered with grace, lived with strength. So let them doubt, let them whisper, let them scroll past your progress. You don't need to correct them, you don't need to convince them, you just need to keep going, because in the end, the only thing louder than their doubt is your silence turned into victory. And that silence, it speaks volumes. If no one believes in you, good. Now is the perfect time to build, in silence, in discipline, in truth. You don't need applause to keep going. You don't need validation to rise. You don't need the crowd to see your value, because you see it. And that's what makes you dangerous. The Stoics never waited to be believed in. They believed in themselves through action, through solitude, through private promises kept without an audience. Let their doubt be your fuel. Let the silence be your training ground. Let every step you take become your proof, not for them, but for the person you're becoming. The world may not see you yet, but you're not here to be seen. You're here to become undeniable. So write in the comments right now, I don't need belief, I have discipline, I am stoic. Let that be your vow. Let that be your beginning. And if this message hits something real inside you, subscribe to the channel, because around here we don't chase noise. We train in silence, we walk with purpose, and we rise without permission. Have you ever experienced a moment of such intense anger that you felt completely out of control? Perhaps when someone said something hurtful or acted in a way that deeply upset you. Have there been days when even a simple glance or a passing remark made it feel as though the entire world was against you? In today's rapidly moving and pressure-filled world, it's incredibly easy to become overwhelmed by negative emotions, from minor irritations to full-blown rage. But is there truly a way to remain steady in the midst of emotional chaos? Is it possible to live a life of calm and composure, untouched by the actions or words of others? Can we really protect our inner peace from external disturbances? Stoicism, an ancient yet deeply relevant school of philosophy, offers profound and enduring wisdom for this very challenge. Thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca endured unimaginable hardships, yet they managed to preserve a state of inner calm by embracing the principles of Stoic thought. Today, we'll delve into 7 practical approaches designed not just to help you manage your emotions, but to truly master them, to gain unwavering control over your inner world. What I'm about to share goes far beyond theoretical musings. These are timeless lessons drawn from the depths of Stoic philosophy, carefully transformed into practical insights that you can apply immediately. So I encourage you to stay with me throughout this journey, because even embracing just one of these approaches can lead to a powerful and immediate shift in your life. Let's begin by talking about the idea of embracing willingness in life. One of the foundational principles of Stoicism that leads to deep inner tranquility is the practice of fully accepting whatever life brings our way. Now, this doesn't mean we have to enjoy every situation or agree with everything that happens. Instead, it calls us to meet each circumstance with openness and a lack of resistance. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, encourages us to accept the things to which fate binds us and to love the people fate connects us with, but to do so wholeheartedly and sincerely. This type of acceptance is essential for breaking the cycle of anger and frustration. Picture yourself performing a mundane task like washing the dishes. If you do it begrudgingly, each plate becomes a source of resentment. But if you engage in the task with a willing spirit and a sense of gratitude, even this simple act becomes peaceful. Epictetus, in his discourses, teaches us not to wish for events to happen as we want them to, but to want them to happen as they do. Because in doing so, life begins to flow more harmoniously. This is the essence of willingness, moving with the current of life rather than resisting it. Practically speaking, this mindset can shift how we respond to uncomfortable moments. Imagine being stuck in traffic. If you allow yourself to dwell in irritation over the delay, your frustration only grows. But if you view the situation as an opportunity to listen to an audiobook, a favorite podcast, or to simply reflect, you instantly take back control over your experience. When we begin to accept life as it is, stress loses its grip on us. A critical part of developing willingness is clarifying our purpose. Instead of chasing fleeting desires or short-term goals, we can focus on a higher vision, a guiding purpose that informs all our actions. Ask yourself, what is the life I am striving to build? What vision am I aligning with? Unlike personal ambitions that might bring momentary satisfaction, a true vision encompasses the entirety of your being. When you live with a grand, meaningful purpose, each action becomes voluntary. You understand that even the hard or unpleasant moments are contributing to something greater. You're no longer just reacting, you're choosing. Think about the difference between doing something out of obligation versus doing something from the heart. If you're meeting a deadline at work under pressure, the task can feel heavy. But when you volunteer to help someone or support a cause you believe in, even the most difficult tasks feel fulfilling. The action may be the same, but the intention transforms your experience. I choose to do this becomes your sanctuary. I have to do this becomes your torment. Try applying this perspective to your daily life. When someone says something offensive, you face a fork in the road. You can let that comment dictate your emotions and lash out in anger, or you can see it as a moment to practice acceptance and inner strength. Remind yourself, this person is acting according to their own character, but I choose not to let it disturb my own. Accepting life's circumstances as they unfold does not mean giving up on self-improvement or letting go of the drive to better your circumstances. Rather, it means recognizing that while some things are beyond your control, your response is always within your power. This understanding is incredibly freeing. It reduces stress and empowers you to focus your energy where it matters most. For instance, if you're criticized at work, you can take it as a personal attack, or you can see it as an opportunity for growth. Your peace of mind isn't determined by what happens to you, but by how you interpret and respond to it. Embracing willingness is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Start small. Accept when you make a mistake. Welcome life's little challenges as opportunities to strengthen your character. Learn to greet inconveniences with calm and patience. As you gradually develop this mindset, you'll find that anger has less power over you. External circumstances won't shake you as easily. Instead, you'll discover a growing, quiet power within yourself, the kind of power that allows you to live life by your own design. Now let's talk about the second principle, the importance of stopping the habit of judging others. Have you ever paused to reflect on why it's so easy to feel annoyed, frustrated, or angry with the people around you? It often comes down to a simple truth. We are constantly judging others. Think about how many times a day you tell yourself that someone is rude, selfish, slow, or untrustworthy. These judgments don't just affect how we view others, they create emotional turmoil within us. From a Stoic perspective, letting go of judgment is one of the most effective ways to free ourselves from unnecessary emotional suffering. Humans naturally interpret the world through their own subjective lens. When someone acts in a way that doesn't align with our expectations, our instinct is to label them, to assign blame, fault, or flaw. Let's say someone is driving slowly in front of you. The first thought might be that they're being thoughtless or stupid. But what if they're a new driver? Or what if they're driving carefully because they have children in the car? The reality is that external events do not dictate our emotions. It's our interpretation that does. Judging others adds an unnecessary emotional burden. These judgments aren't just passing thoughts. They are seeds that grow into frustration, anger, and resentment. Take, for example, a coworker who often arrives late. If your judgment is that they're lazy or inconsiderate, your irritation will build with each passing day. But if you take a moment to consider that they might be caring for someone who's unwell or facing struggles you don't know about, your attitude softens. This shift in perspective doesn't mean you're excusing poor behavior. It means you're choosing not to let it rob you of your peace. You begin to see that judging others does more harm to you than to the person being judged. By releasing the need to label others, you unburden your mind and heart. When we stop judging, we open the door to greater compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control other people's actions, but we can always choose how we respond. When we judge less and understand more, we create space for patience, empathy, and emotional resilience. This doesn't mean abandoning discernment or allowing others to walk over you. It means stepping back from the reflex to immediately categorize someone as good or bad based on a single action. People are complex, just like you. Everyone has struggles, insecurities, and reasons behind their behavior. Ultimately, letting go of judgment is about choosing peace over irritation. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional chains that come with trying to control or define others. When you stop judging, you stop absorbing unnecessary negativity. And in that space of neutrality, you find clarity, calm, and strength. Stay with me as we continue exploring more powerful Stoic practices that can transform not only your emotional world, but your entire life. These teachings aren't just about philosophy. They're about creating a life of stability, depth, and enduring inner peace. Stoicism doesn't instruct us to ignore our problems. It teaches us to see them with greater clarity and understanding. Marcus Aurelius wisely observed that we always possess the option of withholding our opinion. There is never a true necessity to become agitated or to disturb your inner peace over matters beyond your control. No one is entirely virtuous or completely flawed. People are a blend of actions, influenced heavily by their life experiences, surroundings, and level of awareness. Think back to a time when you didn't show up as your best self. Maybe you were exhausted, overwhelmed, or just having a particularly rough day. In the same way, others' actions are rarely a reflection of who they are at their core, but more often a response to the situations they're facing. In the right environment, even someone with many faults can demonstrate surprising kindness. On the flip side, even those who are usually composed and kind can falter under pressure. Consider this. You're at a restaurant and the server accidentally spills water across your table. Your immediate reaction might be irritation or anger. How careless! But if you take a moment to pause and reflect, considering the possibility that they might be having an exceptionally difficult day, your emotional response changes. You feel lighter. This is the quiet but profound power of releasing judgment. Not only does it lift the burden of discomfort from your shoulders, but it also deepens your empathy toward others. To be clear, letting go of judgment doesn't equate to justifying wrongdoing. It means choosing not to let the actions of others take control of your inner world. You can still recognize poor behavior and distinguish right from wrong without allowing negativity to poison your mind. As Marcus Aurelius also noted, the best form of revenge is to remain unlike the one who committed the harm. The most dignified and powerful response to being wronged isn't retaliation, it's maintaining your grace and self-control. So how do we put this principle of non-judgment into action? The first and most essential step is awareness. When you notice yourself beginning to form a judgment about someone, ask yourself honestly, is this thought necessary? Is it helping me in any meaningful way? Then try to shift your point of view. Put yourself in the other person's situation. What might they be going through that you don't see or understand? Remember too that the richness of life comes from diversity. The fact that someone behaves, thinks or reacts differently than you doesn't automatically make them wrong. It simply makes them different. And not every difference needs to be analyzed or emotionally charged. Often, it's not worth your energy or your peace. Letting go of judgment is ultimately about freeing yourself from carrying unnecessary emotional burdens. It's about learning to release the weight of irritation and resentment. The next time someone gets under your skin, pause, breathe deeply, and ask yourself honestly, is this emotional reaction really worth it? You'll begin to notice that by choosing empathy and perspective over assumption and judgment, you not only become more compassionate toward others, but also extend greater kindness to yourself. In the end, ask yourself this fundamental question: do I want to cling to my anger, or do I want to live with freedom and peace? The answer lies within your control. When you release the habit of judging others, you naturally begin to loosen your grip on the desire to control. This opens your eyes to a powerful truth. Much of the tension and disappointment in life comes from our expectation that others should behave according to our preferences. But life doesn't function on our terms. People, with all their complexities and unique circumstances, act based on their own motivations, many of which we may never fully comprehend. This brings up a deeper question. Is control truly the path to peace? Or does peace arise when we let go of the need to control? This question strikes at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. Instead of expending energy trying to reshape what lies beyond our reach, we can choose to accept things as they are, and in doing so, free ourselves from much of life's unnecessary stress. You can't dictate the direction life takes, but you can always govern how you respond. Imagine you're driving during peak traffic hours. The roads are jammed, the horns are blaring, and you're about to be late. You feel frustration bubbling up. Why can't people drive better? Or, why is the traffic always like this? But the truth is, you can't alter how others drive or instantly clear the roads. What you can control, however, is your mindset. You can choose to become agitated, or you can take a breath and accept that this situation is simply outside your influence. Though it might seem straightforward, the act of letting go of control can radically transform your daily experience. Think of a mother who constantly worries about her child's academic performance. She wants the best and fears failure. But no matter how deeply she cares, she cannot take the exams for her child, or picture an employee frustrated with their boss's decisions. No matter how much they disagree, they can't force their boss to think differently. Much of our emotional distress arises from pinning high hopes on things we can't control. When those expectations go unmet, disappointment and resentment naturally follow. I once knew a young entrepreneur who poured his soul into developing a new tech product. His vision was ambitious. He wanted to revolutionize an entire industry. But when he finally launched the product, the market response was lukewarm at best. He was crushed. He blamed the customers for failing to grasp its brilliance and suspected rivals were sabotaging him. This mindset kept him trapped in bitterness. During a conversation, I encouraged him to shift focus. Instead of brooding over what others weren't doing, what could he do differently? Slowly, he began to refine his approach, adjusted the product, and embraced the slow, often humbling journey of growth. By focusing only on what was within his control, he found new clarity, regained his creative spark, and eventually surpassed his earlier goals. This is the essence of Stoicism in practice, recognizing when you're placing energy into the unchangeable and choosing instead to focus on what you can influence. In moments of stress, ask yourself, is this within my control? Am I improving the situation by reacting this way, or am I making it worse? These aren't just philosophical questions, they're practical tools for emotional clarity. Letting go of control doesn't mean you give up or resign yourself to passivity. It means directing your energy wisely toward your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Imagine rowing a small boat down a river. You can't stop the current, but you can learn to steer with precision, adjusting to the flow and moving forward with ease. A valuable Stoic practice for this mindset is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Each morning, spend a moment imagining potential setbacks, a delayed train, a cancelled meeting, a friend letting you down. By anticipating these possibilities, you make peace with them before they even occur. When they do, you'll find yourself far more prepared to accept them calmly. Letting go of control isn't a weakness. It's an extraordinary act of strength. It's a form of freedom. When you stop clinging to what you can't hold, you create space for peace, creativity, and inner power. Begin with small steps. Resist the urge to argue someone into agreeing with you. Stop replaying the past. Stop grasping for guarantees in life. Life is like a river, always flowing, often unpredictable. But when you learn to stop resisting and instead navigate with grace, you discover that peace isn't something you need to chase. It's something you create, moment by moment, choice by choice. When people don't act the way we expect them to, it's easy to feel upset or disappointed. But have you ever paused to wonder why we even expect perfection from others or the world around us? According to Stoic philosophy, this expectation of perfection is not only unrealistic, but also a major source of emotional suffering. The idea that everything should go according to our standards is an illusion, and by recognizing this, we begin to free ourselves from the negative emotions that arise when reality doesn't meet our demands. Reflect on your experiences. Have you ever been let down because a coworker didn't do their part, causing setbacks in your own work? Or maybe you felt hurt when someone close to you didn't keep a promise or said something unkind. These situations are not rare, yet we often react with the assumption that people should be flawless. But is that a fair expectation? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus teaches that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but rather our judgments about those events. Our anger and frustration don't come from what people do, but from how we choose to view their actions. The world is naturally messy, unpredictable, and flawed. It was never meant to function according to our preferences. Trying to mold it to our will only leads to suffering. Let's consider a specific case. Imagine you spent days preparing for a vital presentation. You gave it your all, but right before it began, the colleague in charge of the supporting materials made some critical mistakes or left out important content. The initial reaction might be overwhelming frustration. You might think, how could they be so careless after all my effort? But from a Stoic viewpoint, this reaction doesn't serve you. The mistake has already happened, and blaming someone else only increases your distress. A more empowering response would be to ask, what can I do right now to make the best of this situation? Accepting that people make mistakes allows you to stay calm and think clearly, which in turn helps you find better solutions. Stoicism teaches that our focus should remain on what we can control. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, advised that we begin each day by reminding ourselves we will likely encounter rudeness, ingratitude, arrogance, betrayal, hostility, and selfishness. These aren't exceptions to the rule, they are part of life. He explained that such behaviors stem from ignorance, from a lack of understanding about what is truly good or bad. By anticipating these imperfections, we mentally prepare ourselves to respond with patience and strength. This isn't about being negative, it's about being realistic and equipping ourselves emotionally to handle life's unpredictability. Embracing the world's imperfections can also change the way we handle everyday conflicts. When someone fails to keep a promise, rather than immediately feeling betrayed, you can remind yourself that everyone is fighting battles you can't see. If you're feeling misunderstood, resist the urge to become defensive. Instead, calmly try to clarify your thoughts. Perhaps the other person didn't mean to offend, but simply didn't grasp your perspective. If someone is rude or critical, ask yourself whether their words truly injure you or whether it's your own interpretation that's creating the pain. To accept imperfection doesn't mean we stop trying to grow or improve the world around us. On the contrary, this mindset liberates us. When we stop demanding that others meet our personal standards, we free ourselves from constant disappointment and can instead invest our energy in what truly matters. Take personal relationships, for example. We often expect our partner to understand us completely, to instinctively know our feelings and needs. But even the most loving person can't read your mind. When you stop blaming them for not meeting your unspoken expectations and instead ask yourself whether you could express your needs more clearly, you not only reduce frustration, but also strengthen your relationship through better communication. When we truly embrace imperfection, we begin to find beauty in flaws. The co-worker who forgets deadlines, the friend who lets you down, the stranger who speaks harshly, all of these become chances to practice compassion and resilience. Ask yourself, have I ever made mistakes? If you desire understanding and forgiveness from others, shouldn't you be willing to extend the same to them? This shift in thinking reminds us that every human being is flawed, just as we are, and most are doing the best they can with the circumstances they face. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, said that true freedom belongs to the brave. Having the courage to face and accept imperfection is not only a sign of compassion, it is a key to inner peace. You don't need a perfect world to be happy. When you stop expecting perfection from people or from life, you take a massive weight off your shoulders. Marcus Aurelius noted that your life's happiness depends on the quality of your thoughts. By training your mind to accept life as it is, not as you wish it to be, you begin to find peace amidst the chaos. This approach doesn't mean settling for less or tolerating harmful behavior. Rather, it's about mastering the art of living, one based on clarity, patience, and wisdom. As we start to accept the world's flaws, we arrive at a deeper realization. The way we feel about life's events is not dictated by the events themselves, but by our internal responses. This leads us to an even more personal challenge, learning to take responsibility for our emotions. The outside world is full of disorder, and people will often fail to meet our expectations. Things will rarely go exactly as we plan, but must these things shake us to our core? Accepting life's external imperfections is one part of the equation. The more difficult and more rewarding part is learning to regulate how we respond emotionally to what happens around us. This brings up a vital question. Who really controls your feelings? You or the circumstances you encounter? Stoic philosophy urges us to confront this truth head-on. Picture yourself standing in a crowded supermarket line on a hectic weekend. The place is buzzing with noise and stress. Suddenly, someone cuts in front of you without saying a word. No apology, no acknowledgement. Almost immediately, you feel a surge of irritation. You might think, "How rude." The impulse to speak up angrily or to stew in frustration is strong. But here's where you can take a pause and reflect. Is this person's inconsiderate action really worth disrupting your peace? They may have acted poorly, but your emotions are still your responsibility. Why should you allow their behavior to take charge of how you feel? If you choose calmness, you'll notice something powerful. The irritation begins to melt away. That person may continue without ever realizing what they did, but their behavior no longer has any control over your mood. The cue may take a few minutes longer, but your inner stability remains untouched. What could have been a spark for hours of negativity turns into just another moment in the day, easily forgotten. Every day, we unknowingly give others control over our emotions. A harsh comment, a dismissive look, or a forgotten favor can make us feel hurt or angry. But why do we give other people such power over our emotional state? Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, reminded us that we have complete control over our minds, even if we can't control outside events. In that control lies our strength. His insight reveals a timeless truth. While you can't determine how others behave, you always have the power to choose how you respond. Think back to a time when you were unjustly criticized, maybe at work or by someone close to you. The natural reaction might have been anger, maybe even a desire to defend yourself. But imagine if, in that moment, you had reminded yourself that your value doesn't depend on one person's opinion, and that your peace of mind is not up for negotiation. That would change everything. How can we begin to develop this level of emotional mastery? The answer lies in simple but powerful practices. Start by learning to harness the power of the pause. When something upsets you, resist the immediate impulse to react. Instead, ask yourself a few key questions. Am I overreacting? Or, is this moment really worth disturbing my peace? This brief pause, though seemingly small, creates a vital gap between the trigger and your response. In that space, you gain the ability to make a conscious choice, to choose calm over chaos, wisdom over impulse. Another deeply effective approach, one rooted in ancient Stoic tradition, is to keep a daily journal of your emotions. Each evening, take a few quiet moments to reflect. Ask yourself, what stirred my emotions today? What situations challenged my inner balance? How did I respond? And could I have chosen a wiser response? This daily practice is more than just writing. It's a mirror into your emotional life. Over time, it reveals patterns, moments where you consistently lose your composure, and gives you the clarity and discipline to change your reactions. Slowly but surely, this builds a resilient mindset. Owning your emotions is the cornerstone of a more peaceful life. The truth is, no one can truly make you angry or upset unless you give them that power. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius captured this timeless wisdom when he wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." These words are not just theory, they are a call to action. They remind us that emotions, while powerful, are our possession. They are not the result of what someone else says or does, but of how we interpret and internalize the situation. Your peace of mind is your responsibility. When you learn to protect it, fiercely but calmly, you will find that very little in this world can truly disturb your inner spirit. So ask yourself, does this way of thinking resonate with you? If it does, take a moment to like this message and share your own thoughts in the comments. I'd truly love to hear your personal stories and reflections. And if you see things differently, I welcome your perspective as well. Your insights might ignite a meaningful and enriching conversation that helps us all grow. Let's keep growing together as we move forward into the next timeless principle. Lesson number 6. Practice non-reaction. In life, unexpected moments often catch us by surprise. A colleague might publicly criticize you during a meeting, leaving you stunned and embarrassed. A stranger may rudely cut in front of you in a line you've been patiently standing in. Or someone might throw a sharp and careless remark your way, leaving you feeling offended or even angry. These types of encounters, though they may seem small, can easily shake your mood and stir up feelings of resentment and frustration. But is there a better way to handle such moments? Is there a way to remain grounded and composed, even when others act out of line? The answer lies in mastering the ancient yet powerful art of non-reaction. Epictetus, one of the great voices of Stoicism, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple truth holds immense power. When you pause and reflect on it, you begin to see that your emotional state is not determined by other people's behavior, but by how you choose to perceive and respond to it. Take the earlier example of being criticized during a meeting. Your initial reaction might be to feel embarrassed or irritated, especially if the criticism is public and unexpected. You might feel the urge to immediately defend yourself or push back to protect your pride. But what if you paused instead? What if, in that brief space between stimulus and response, you asked yourself, why should I let this define my mood or my worth? That colleague's hasty or insensitive words don't actually diminish your capabilities. They only reflect their own mindset in that moment. By choosing not to react emotionally, you protect your peace, maintain your professionalism, and show strength, not weakness. Consider an alternative and more stoic approach. You smile calmly and respond, "Thank you for the feedback. I'll address that after I finish presenting my ideas." With that single response, you seize control of the situation. The colleague, expecting a defensive reaction, is instead met with grace and composure. And you, rather than being flustered or rattled, walk away from the meeting with confidence and inner calm. This is the quiet power of non-reaction. Seneca, another towering figure of Stoicism, once advised, The greatest remedy for anger is delay. One of the most effective ways to master non-reaction is to give yourself time. When someone insults you or challenges you unfairly, resist the temptation to fire back immediately. Instead, take a breath. Reflect. If the conflict is over email, delay your reply by an hour or even a full day. Time grants you clarity, and clarity allows you to respond wisely rather than impulsively. Sometimes the strongest response is silence. Choosing not to retaliate doesn't mean you are weak. On the contrary, it means you are in full control. By refusing to be provoked, you remain the master of your inner state. There's a wise old saying, if a donkey kicks you and you kick back, you're both donkeys. This humorous yet profound parable teaches that reacting to negativity with more negativity only pulls you down to the same level. But when you rise above it, when you choose not to engage, you preserve your dignity and your peace. Picture a heated argument. Each word adds fuel to the fire, but then imagine one person stops speaking. They no longer react. Eventually the flames die down. Without fuel, anger cannot survive. The one who steps back from the conflict emerges not as weak, but as wise. They have chosen peace over pride and have protected their emotional balance. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you lost your temper over something that in hindsight was trivial? Was the anger worth it? If you could return to that moment, would you respond differently? These are powerful questions that invite us to become more self-aware and more in control of ourselves. Marcus Aurelius captured it best when he wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This wisdom isn't abstract, it's practical. It means that even in the chaos of life, you always have the power to reclaim your peace. Mastering non-reaction doesn't mean you accept mistreatment or remain passive in the face of injustice. It means you become discerning, choosing where your energy is best spent and refusing to waste it on meaningless provocation. By embracing non-reaction, you gain emotional mastery. You protect your peace. You develop a strong, grounded soul that cannot be easily shaken by outside forces. Remind yourself every day, you cannot control the actions of others, but you can always control your response. In a world full of noise, calmness, silence, and an unshaken heart are your greatest strengths. This is the essence of Stoicism. Now, let's explore the next vital teaching. Lesson number 7. Find joy in selflessness. As we learn to stay calm and resist the urge to react hastily to the world around us, something remarkable begins to happen. Our inner world begins to lighten. The burdens we once carried, anger, irritation, resentment, begin to lift. The things that used to trigger us now feel like minor ripples in the vast river of life. And in that space where bitterness used to reside, something new and beautiful takes root. A quiet, radiant joy. The joy of understanding, of compassion, and of giving without expectation. As our hearts soften and open, we make room for empathy and love. We begin to see that sometimes the most powerful way to protect our peace is to simply forgive, to let go, to offer kindness even when it is not returned. This is not weakness, it is transcendence. It is the mind finding clarity and the heart expanding to embrace others, even those who fall short. Marcus Aurelius beautifully reminds us in his writings that when we wake in the morning, we should take a moment to reflect on the privilege of being alive, to think, to experience joy, and to love. These are gifts that each new day provides. These simple yet profound words serve as a gentle reminder of the blessings life offers us. Every morning is an opportunity to love, to help others, and to live with a heart that is more open and receptive than it was the day before. Through the lens of Marcus Aurelius, forgiveness is not something distant or difficult to attain. It is simply an awareness that helping others brings joy, not just to them, but also to ourselves. I recall a story about a friend who worked in a highly stressful environment where he was frequently criticized, sometimes unfairly, by his colleagues. Instead of responding with anger or frustration, he chose to pause and reflect. He asked himself, "Are they going through something that I don't know about?" One day, he learned that a colleague who had been particularly critical was facing severe financial struggles. This revelation changed his entire perspective. Rather than retaliating, he chose to remain silent, to listen, and even offered help when he could. Over time, this approach not only improved their relationship, but also created a more positive and less tense atmosphere in the workplace. The same principle can be applied to our family lives. Minor disagreements in families often have the potential to escalate into major arguments. Imagine having a relative who constantly criticizes you, no matter what you do. Their words might hurt deeply, but it's important to remember that their criticism often comes from their own insecurities or struggles, rather than from a genuine desire to hurt you. When you understand this, it becomes much easier to disarm your own anger. Choosing forgiveness doesn't mean you accept wrongdoing. It means you choose not to let it dictate how you feel or control your emotional state. Anger frequently arises from our expectations of others. We expect people to behave according to our standards, but life is inherently imperfect. Everyone carries unseen burdens, and recognizing this fact allows us to let go of our expectations. Once these expectations fade, there is no longer a reason for anger to take root. The beauty of forgiveness is that it not only helps us move beyond anger, but also brings a deep sense of joy and relief. Reflect for a moment. Can you recall a time when you helped someone without expecting anything in return? How did it feel? It was likely a peaceful, fulfilling experience, one that brought a sense of purpose and joy that surpassed any material reward. Epictetus once wisely stated, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Practicing forgiveness is not only about giving to others, it is about reclaiming control over our own emotions. It is a form of spiritual freedom, a state of peace that cannot be bought with material wealth. Modern research supports this idea. People who regularly engage in acts of kindness and selflessness report higher levels of happiness. The teachings of Stoicism, which have endured for millennia, understood this truth deeply. Forgiveness is not merely a moral virtue, it is a path to a fuller, more meaningful life. Take a moment to ask yourself, can I see this situation from the other person's perspective? What might be driving their behavior? These questions, when practiced regularly, can help ease discomfort and foster understanding. When was the last time you helped someone without expecting anything in return? How did it make you feel? Reflecting on such moments can guide you toward practicing forgiveness daily. It doesn't have to be a complicated or difficult process. Sometimes it's as simple as showing patience with someone's carelessness or refraining from trying to control things that are beyond your power. Instead of clinging to anger, focus on bettering yourself. When you extend kindness to someone, Be grateful for the opportunity to do so, and let go of any resentment. Seneca, in his timeless wisdom, beautifully said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Wherever life places us, we have the chance to offer compassion. Choose forgiveness, not just for others, but also for yourself." Through giving and understanding, we build a better world for both ourselves and those around us. Forgiveness is not just an action. It is the key to living freely and peacefully. In conclusion, we have explored 7 methods for maintaining inner peace and remaining unaffected by the anger or annoyance caused by others. These principles are not merely philosophical musings. They are practical tools that guide us toward true inner freedom. By embracing acceptance, we learn to align with life itself. By letting go of judgment, we free ourselves from the burdens of bias. By relinquishing control and embracing imperfection, we take responsibility for our emotions and practice non-reactivity. All of these steps bring us closer to genuine self-mastery. Along this journey, finding joy in compassion becomes the greatest gift we can offer, not just to others, but to ourselves as well. You're exhausted from dealing with problems that feel overwhelming. What you truly desire are straightforward, effective ways to handle 93% of the challenges that confront you every day. In this video, we'll introduce you to a powerful set of transformative phrases that can empower you to face any difficulty with courage and clarity. These inspiring statements are designed to give you the mental boost you need to navigate adversity with strength, make wiser decisions, and gain greater mental clarity. I encourage you to stay with us until the very end, because that's where you'll find some of the most valuable insights, lessons that can fortify your plans and help you stand strong no matter what life throws at you. If this is your first time visiting the channel, I kindly ask you to support us by subscribing and liking the video. Your support helps me continue sharing more content like this, rooted in the art of facing life's challenges with calm, learning how to live in harmony with nature, and cultivating virtues that elevate our inner lives day by day. Every teaching shared here takes you on a deeper journey of self-awareness and personal evolution. Discover the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy and learn how to apply it meaningfully in the modern world. If you want to dive deeper, check out our ebook, Stoic Mindset, a guide to contemporary life. The link is available in the first pinned comment. Each insight gives us the chance to awaken a higher consciousness about ourselves and the world around us, pushing us to rise above the mundane and strive toward a richer, more purposeful life. Let's begin with a truth. Being honest won't win you a crowd, but it will connect you with the right people. Don't waste your time worrying about what others think. Most people are only focused on themselves anyway. Every second you spend comparing your life with someone else's is a moment lost forever. Let go of emotional attachment. People don't always change. Even your closest friends can become strangers over time. Find contentment within yourself. If your happiness depends on someone else's presence, then you're placing your strength in something fragile. Share your growth. Set your own goals. That way, motivation will follow naturally. Don't be afraid of solitude. Being alone with yourself is far more rewarding than surrounding yourself with mediocrity. Often those who expect the most from you are the ones who give the least in return. Take your responsibilities seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Fear isn't your enemy. It simply reveals what truly matters to you. Never make lasting decisions while you're trapped in temporary emotions. If you place someone on a pedestal, they'll only be able to look down on you. People offer advice based on their limited viewpoint. You don't have to voice every thought you have, and don't do anything you'll need to lie about later. Light travels faster than sound. This is why some people appear intelligent until they start talking. Stop chasing happiness outside yourself. It has always been within you. You owe nothing to your past self, but you owe everything to who you are right now. Self-care begins when you realize that you are your own greatest hurdle. Your parents may not have had academic credentials, but that doesn't mean their advice lacked wisdom. Stop rejecting their guidance with pride. Move through life with quiet confidence. Don't overthink. It complicates situations, heightens worry, and makes things worse than they actually are. Before letting anger control you, ask yourself if what's upsetting you will matter in 10 years. Your body is the only one you'll ever have. It's incredibly strong, but it can only return what you give to it. If someone makes a big show of telling the truth, you can bet they're not being honest. Your power lies in what you choose to do with your time. You'll never mess up your role in life by being authentic. Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Missing someone doesn't mean you need to bring them back into your life. Sometimes missing them is just part of letting them go. You may first be drawn to a partner's appearance, but one day you'll realize it's their character that shapes the life you share, especially the kind of children you raise. You can't have everything. Life requires sacrifice. To find out who your true friends are, pay attention to who speaks positively about you behind your back, and truthfully, to your face. Letting go is incredibly hard, but it's also one of the most liberating things you'll ever do. The more you confront fear and collect victories over it, the more fearless you'll become. Don't make someone your priority if they treat you as an afterthought. If you try to be everyone's friend, you'll end up betraying yourself. You were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them accordingly. The most powerful truth you must embrace is change. You don't live just once. You live many lives within this one lifetime. Life becomes more beautiful and fulfilling when you learn to see the good in others. You can cut down all the flowers, but you can't stop spring from coming. Let people's actions speak louder than their words. They will always show you more through what they do than what they say. Everything you do connects to something else. Those dots will one day form a pattern that gives you understanding and direction. Commitment gets you started. Consistency moves you forward, and persistence ensures you don't stop. You can fall in love more than once. So don't fall apart when someone leaves. Sometimes, that's life's way of making space for something better. If someone tries to bring you down, it's a sign you're above them. Don't make promises you don't intend to keep. What means little to you might mean everything to someone else. Going back to an ex is like showering and then putting on your old, dirty clothes. Keep your mind open and act like an artist, but learn and adapt like a scientist. Your purpose isn't something you find in a distant place. You create it right where you are by pouring meaning into your present life. Everything can change in a single moment, so rather than coasting through life, appreciate every moment and do as much good with it as you can. You become truly rich, not through possessions, but through meaningful experiences. Don't overthink. Act. Clarity is born from movement, not endless contemplation. You can't think your way into a new life. You must live your way into it. Your life reflects your mindset. Chasing happiness leads to disappointment until you realize that happiness is the path, not the destination. All you have is now. What you do with it matters. be wise enough to ask for guidance, but even wiser in choosing who you ask. If you want to leave something behind, let it be your ego. Gratitude transforms the way you see the world. The more grateful you are, the more beauty you'll notice, the more generous life becomes, and the happier you'll feel. You may not forget all the painful moments, but eventually you'll stop letting them trouble you. Until that day comes, don't stress over them too much. Success isn't about having all the resources. It's about how creative and resourceful you are with what you have. Fear dictates most people's lives and creeps into their decisions. Learn to conquer it, manage it, and celebrate your strength every time you overcome it. You can't reach new shores without leaving the safety of the shore. It's never too late to pursue the things that matter most to you. Don't let pessimistic voices discourage you. Most of the time, they're reflecting their own limitations, not yours. Whether you or someone else caused a situation, don't dwell in anger. Meet the challenge. Others will always project their own fears and doubts onto you, so build mental armor to protect yourself from their noise. Never share your past with those who can't understand it. It holds meaning only you truly grasp, and some people might misuse it. Your future can be completely different from your present if you take action. But if you keep crying about what's not working today, tomorrow will be no different. Sometimes life forces you to confront your identity. But if you never stop to reflect, you may never discover who you truly are. Life won't go as planned, and that's not just okay. It's often the best thing that can happen. I remember sitting alone, feeling like I had completely hit rock bottom. But it was in that dark moment that I crossed paths with people who shared powerful lessons with me, lessons that helped me rise again. And perhaps these same lessons are what your heart needs right now. People aren't necessarily for you or against you, they're simply for themselves. What lies ahead is often better than what's already behind you. Sometimes you have to walk away, let go of certain people, and allow relationships to come to their natural end. Your real friends? They show up when you're at your lowest. The only way out of pain is through it. And believe me, you're much stronger than you give yourself credit for. You've made it through every hard day you've ever faced, undefeated. No one will ever take care of you the way you can take care of yourself. Once you confront your fears, you'll see they were never as terrifying as you imagined. Challenges will arise. Miracles will too. If you believe you can, you're already halfway there. Not every person you meet will have pure intentions. On the days when motivation escapes you, those are often the days you need to push yourself the most. The only things truly within your control are your thoughts, actions, and emotions. Trying to change others rarely works. Difficult experiences often mold ordinary people into extraordinary versions of themselves. The future belongs to those who hold on to the beauty of their dreams. Sometimes the only way to discover your true path is to let the winds of change carry you. Never stifle your own growth for the sake of anyone else. Pain is a part of life, but suffering is something we choose. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and far wiser than you know. Trust yourself. You've survived so much already, and you will survive whatever comes next. Often, we don't realize how strong we are until being strong is our only option. Change isn't something to fear. It's an invitation to really live. Whether we grow stronger or more miserable, both require effort. So choose the effort that uplifts you. Set expectations only for yourself. Life doesn't always play fair. Sometimes liars and cheaters seem to get ahead. But even when it all looks hopeless, keep fighting, keep hoping, keep wishing. Change doesn't happen by chance. It happens by making new decisions and putting in the hard work. Honesty is a rare and valuable gift. Don't expect it from people who treat life cheaply. When your patience is rewarded, you'll look back and realize the wait wasn't long at all. You must learn to love yourself before you can truly love others. When pain comes, it's there to teach, not to torment you pointlessly. Wisdom often stems from experience, and experience often comes from making poor choices. Don't allow your past memories to confine your future potential. The only limits in life are the ones we believe in our minds. Rather than wishing obstacles away, we need to face them with courage. Letting go isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. The hardest roads often lead to the most beautiful destinations. Eventually, you'll reach a point where you'll need to either turn the page, write a new story, or close the book completely. When you emerge from a storm, you won't be the same person who walked into it. Courage is the foundation of all virtues. Without it, you can't consistently practice any other. Most people will disappoint you the first chance they get. It's not falling into the water that drowns you, it's staying there. There is only one risk in life that should truly terrify you: the risk of doing nothing. Every new chapter in your life will demand a new version of you. Take the first step with faith. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just trust in the next step. Don't let anyone convince you that you don't deserve what you want. Life's biggest danger is in being too cautious. The most crucial lesson: learning how to push through bad days so that better ones can be built. Let your self-improvement consume you so much that you have no time to criticize others. Many people unnecessarily complicate their lives, as if life isn't already complicated enough. One of the hardest lessons is accepting that not everyone wants what's best for you. True happiness doesn't come from having no problems. It comes from learning how to manage them. Sometimes we must experience absolute despair before we can truly feel overwhelming joy. Hard times are often hidden blessings, even though they bring suffering. But eventually, they make us wiser and stronger. Running through imagined scenarios in your mind is futile. Reality will always be different. People will enter and leave your life, and often those you thought would stay forever become fleeting memories. Healing happens at the pace of your forgiveness. A little madness helps us enjoy life, while a little wisdom helps us avoid mistakes that could make it harder. Tough times don't create heroes. They reveal the hero already inside of you. Happiness isn't the absence of difficulty, it's the resilience to face it. The most courageous thing any of us can do is to step out of our old stories and into the lives we were meant to live. Nothing will ever change for you unless you change. You may think you know someone, but often you only know the version you want to believe in. It takes time, but eventually you learn. Life doesn't give you anything without expecting something in return. Instead of wasting energy on what you can't control, focus on what you can build. Maturity is when you stop blaming, stop making excuses, and start making real changes. You won't always understand everything right away, and sometimes it's the goodbyes that set you free. The person you're meant to become is the one you choose to be. When you have a clear purpose, no one needs to push you. Your passion will drive you forward. Life changes for the better when you accept that you don't need all the answers, and you can drop the act of pretending you do. Knowing you are the reason behind someone's smile, or the reason someone believes in love again, that's everything. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. Some actions, no matter how persistent, bring bitter results. Sometimes you have to release parts of yourself in order to feel whole. Obstacles aren't dead ends. If you hit a wall, find a way to climb it, break through it, or walk around it. You might not always get what you want, but if you try, you just might get what you need. The first step to progress is deciding that you can't stay where you are. One of life's toughest lessons is knowing which bridges to cross and which to burn. Pay attention. Life sends you lessons when you're ready to receive them. Facing your emotions brings lasting peace, far more than suppressing them ever will. If you believe in something deeply, protect it. Be mindful of your thoughts when you're alone, and of your words when you're with others. If you don't live your life, someone else will try to live it for you. Be thankful for what you already have while pursuing what you want. If life teaches us anything, it's that wishing alone won't make something real. Sometimes you won't fit in, no matter how hard you try, and that's okay. Being alone is better than being somewhere you don't belong. Every journey has a final chapter. Don't rush. When one door closes, another opens. But if you stare too long at the closed one, you'll miss the one already open for you. Trust your instincts, even when everyone else is trying to change your mind. Never take people for granted. You never know how much they mean to you until they're gone. Never walk away from a real challenge. It's in those moments that life teaches you its most powerful lessons. You are the only one who can be both your biggest ally and your worst enemy. And that choice is yours. You can't control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. Don't cry because something ended. Smile because it happened. Sometimes losing everything is what helps you discover who you truly are. People grow through experience if they're open to learning from their mistakes. Difficult moments show us that we're far more resilient than we imagined. Speak up for yourself. No one else will do it for you. And as much as you may want to help others grow, you can't force it. Eventually, a day will come when you realize it's time to stop trying and simply let go. There is no grand design, only the outcomes of your decisions. Be cautious even with your good intentions, for kindness has its limits, and some may exploit your generosity. You can choose to be a victim of your struggles, or you can rise above them and become the hero of your own life. The most valuable thing in this world is the time you share with those you love. Yet we often overlook that happiness doesn't stem from acquiring what we lack, but from recognizing and cherishing what we already have. Your future is simply your past that you've come to understand. You must be the one to help yourself. No one else can do it for you. Once you realize this truth, you will begin to feel a greater sense of control over your life. Worrying changes nothing about what's to come, and the quality of your thoughts is what determines the happiness in your life. To me, there is no better indicator of a sound and well-organized mind than a person's ability to pause and be content in their own company. The strongest defense against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. I only speak when I'm certain that silence would not be a better option. All Hellenistic schools of philosophy, though differing in details, seem to define wisdom similarly, as the attainment of a tranquil and peaceful state of mind. From this perspective, philosophy serves as a healing agent for the human soul, addressing the fear and sorrow that plague us. For cynics, the burden lies in societal norms and restrictions. For Epicureans, it's the pursuit of false pleasures. For Stoics, it's the chase after selfish desires. And for skeptics, it's the reliance on mistaken beliefs. Even if each philosophy claims roots in Socratic thought, They all agree with Socrates that humanity is entrenched in misery and confusion, not because of external evils, but due to ignorance. Evil is not found in things themselves, but in the judgments we make about them. Healing comes only when individuals are persuaded to transform these value judgments. That is why all these philosophical paths aim to be therapeutic. Simplicity, patience, and compassion, these are your greatest treasures. When your actions and thoughts are rooted in simplicity, you return to your essential nature. When you're patient with both friends and foes, you adapt to reality. When you're compassionate with yourself, you reconnect with all life. What harms the hive cannot benefit the bees. Therefore, living justly in your own actions means acting in ways that serve the common good. This is what it means to fulfill your true purpose. Most people are not concerned with living nobly, but with living long, even though every person has the power to live with virtue, while no one has the power to extend life indefinitely. Just like a runner must give their best to win the race, it is wrong to trip a fellow competitor. Similarly, in life, it's acceptable to seek personal benefit, but it's unjust to take it from someone else. To be human is to struggle with injustice, cruelty, and indifference. Virtue, on the other hand, is expressed through love, kindness, justice, charity, and a genuine concern for others. Whether in exile or at home, the brave face adversity without fear. That's why they possess the courage to speak their minds freely, regardless of where they are. True philosophy doesn't promise to secure anything external, because doing so would acknowledge a force beyond one's control. Just as a carpenter works with wood and a sculptor with bronze, the raw material of life is the very life each person is given. We are all bound by fortune, some with golden chains that are long and polished, others with short, rusted ones. Yet the nature of the prison remains the same. Even those who have imprisoned others are themselves imprisoned. Don't think that a chain on the left is any lighter. Honor, wealth, and nobility bind some, while humility weighs on others. Some are held by outside forces, while others are enslaved by their own inner tyrants. All lives contain an element of bondage. The key is to become accustomed to your circumstances and complain as little as possible. Find and hold on to the good that is close at hand. Nothing is so bitter that a peaceful mind cannot find comfort in it. Small, cleverly arranged spaces have served many needs. Likewise, a limited situation can become bearable, even fulfilling, through thoughtful arrangement and skillful adjustment. Apply reason to your difficulties. Tight boundaries can be expanded and heavy burdens lightened if carried wisely. If you've given into anger, understand that beyond the harm it causes, it also strengthens a damaging habit and feeds the fire. If you surrender to physical temptation, you haven't just suffered a lapse, you've reinforced destructive behaviors. Just as a person recovering from fever remains weakened even after recovery, so too does the mind retain marks from harmful choices. Unless healing is thorough, repeated failures will leave wounds, not just blisters. If someone tells you that another has spoken ill of you, don't rush to defend yourself. Instead say, "They didn't know the rest of my flaws, otherwise they'd have mentioned more." A good person doesn't act for appearances, but because it is right. Live each day as if it were your last. Learn as if you were to live forever. Only a fool insists on learning from their own mistakes, while the wise learn from the mistakes of others. When you light a lamp for another, it also lights your own path. If you can do what you love and find joy in it, you're already far ahead. When your work speaks for itself, it doesn't need to interrupt or seek validation. Progress lives just beyond the boundaries of comfort. I've realized that while words about your suffering may cause pain, silence from those who care can wound even deeper. An arrogant person always looks down on others and, in doing so, fails to appreciate anything above them. If it's not proper, don't do it. If it isn't true, don't say it. Master your impulses. Cruel words may sting, but silence can break the heart. A wise person controls their emotions in 3 situations: in the face of ignorance, during personal victories, and in times of deep disappointment. We often admire most what we least understand. If you want others to think well of you, resist the urge to speak well of yourself. Distraction comforts us during suffering, yet ironically, it is often the cause of our greatest misfortunes. To understand life, one must dream, because something far greater lies ahead than anything we leave behind. Each morning, we are born anew. What matters most is what we do today. Do not seek refuge in others. Even when you choose to speak, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? No one can save us but ourselves. No one may and no one can. We must walk the path on our own. The secret to physical and mental well-being lies not in regretting the past or fearing the future, but in living wisely and earnestly in the present. Just as a jar is filled drop by drop, the wise fill themselves with goodness little by little. There is nothing as unruly as an undisciplined mind, and nothing as obedient as one that is trained. If you find no one to support you on your spiritual path, then walk it alone. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it outside yourself. Show compassion to all beings, both rich and poor, for each person carries suffering. Some carry too much, others too little. If your compassion doesn't include yourself, it's incomplete. Hatred does not end with more hatred. It ends through love. That is the timeless truth. Nothing causes us more harm than our own unchecked thoughts. Look to the sky. There is no true east or west. These are boundaries created by people, not nature. These boundaries are inventions of the human mind, constructed, believed, and clung to as reality. If we turn our backs on others in their time of need, who will be there for us in ours? It is a generous spirit, gentle words, and a life devoted to service and empathy that revitalize the human soul. We accumulate knowledge by adding things daily, but wisdom is gained through subtraction, by removing the unnecessary each day. Those with true understanding often remain silent. Those who constantly speak often lack understanding. Quiet your speech, shut off distractions, dull your sharpness, loosen the binds within, soften your gaze, settle the unrest in your heart. This is how you return to your original nature. That which flows with the Tao cannot be grasped, taken, harmed, or glorified. It simply gives continuously and thus endures. All you must do is rest in non-action, and transformation will unfold on its own. Abandon the idea of self as fixed form. Spit out what binds your senses. Forget the illusion of separateness from the world around you, and you may begin to merge with the vast unity that holds everything. The boundless, the infinite, is found in surrender. An idea that is nurtured and carried out has more power than one that merely stays as thought. When you came into this world, you cried and the world smiled. Live your life so that when you depart, you smile and the world mourns your absence. In time, you may look back and find the years of hardship to be the most beautiful. Wherever fear exists, that is where your purpose lies. Those who are most difficult to love are often the ones who need it most. If your heart can dream it, then your hands can work toward it. Don't seek validation except from your own sense of striving to do better. It is wiser to remain silent and seem foolish than to speak and confirm it. Success is not the final destination. Failure is not the end. It is the courage to continue that truly matters. Time is sufficient for anyone who knows how to use it wisely. The act of thinking is perhaps the most challenging thing of all. Maybe that's why so few are willing to do it. Do what you can with what you have exactly where you are. We tend to love ourselves more than others, yet we often value the opinions of others more than our own. Let us stand up and be thankful. Even if we didn't learn much, we learned something. And if we didn't learn, at least we weren't ill. And if we were sick, at least we didn't die. So let us be grateful. Who we are is shaped by what we think. We are rooted in our thoughts, and our lives are molded by them. When a person speaks or acts with ill intent, suffering follows close behind, just like the wheel follows the hoof of the beast that pulls the cart. When one speaks or acts from kindness, joy follows like a faithful shadow. Holding on to anger is like gripping a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. Only you get burned. A single moment can change an entire day. A single day can transform a life, and a life can leave a mark on the world. Be present wherever you are, or else you will miss the essence of living. Kindness should be a natural part of our existence, not an occasional exception. Anyone who can anger you has in that moment become your master, for you've allowed yourself to be disturbed by them. Nothing is out of reach for those who persist. Time crawls when you chase it and races when it chases you. A goal without a plan is just a dream. The future approaches slowly, the present rushes past, and the past stands still. The highest human endeavor is to understand, because true understanding is liberation. Write your sorrows in the sand, where the winds of time can erase them. Etch your joys in stone, where they remain unshaken. Don't postpone today's actions to tomorrow. Love others as you love yourself. Don't measure your greatness by the length of your shadow at sunset. Never interrupt your adversary when they are in the midst of error. To be a friend to everyone often means to be a true friend to no one. Even a broken promise can be more meaningful than silence. Both the optimist and the pessimist have their place. The optimist invented the airplane, the pessimist the parachute. A woman's intuition may often outmatch a man's certainty. Ignorance is the root and trunk of all suffering. He who isn't content with little will never find peace with more. Shadows appear on sunny days and vanish when the skies are grey. Search for them, and you will not find them. Understanding a question is already half of the answer. What we know is a single drop. What we don't know is an ocean. Become the change you want to see in the world. Perfection isn't reached when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. Simplicity is a sign of maturity. He who controls the past holds sway over the future. He who controls the present rewrites the past. Feign weakness when strong, and strength when weak. Time, like money, must be spent wisely. If you want to forget something, just remind yourself it must be remembered. Ironically, that's the surest way to forget. At some point, everyone must face the banquet of consequences. The value of a gift lies not in what is given, but in the intention behind it. In what we fear, we act like mortals. In what we desire, we act like we'll live forever. If a man doesn't know where he is sailing, no wind will be favorable. We live as though we have endless days ahead, rarely acknowledging our frailty. We squander time as if we have unlimited reserves, though any day we devote to something could very well be our last. The soul reflects the color of its thoughts. We often carry resentment and disappointment with the world around us, its people, its history, its systems. But the world simply is, not how we wish it to be, but as it exists. When we resist this reality and impose our expectations on it, we encounter internal friction, and from this, suffering is born. The greater the gap between our reality and our expectations, the greater the tension we experience. Learn to accept life, to embrace fate and all that it offers. This is the Stoic principle of amor fati, to love one's fate. After all, it is destiny that grants us the gift of life and experience. Attachment is the root of suffering. Your purpose is to discover your own path and then give yourself to it completely. No fire burns hotter than passion. No predator is more dangerous than hatred. No trap is as binding as ignorance. No flood is as destructive as greed. Do not dwell on the past. Do not chase dreams of the future. Keep your mind grounded in the present, and joy will never be far away. Gratitude is the gateway to contentment. Beneath it all, you are simply a part of the very fabric of existence. I've come to understand that both the past and the future are illusions, constructs that only exist in the now. The present is all there is. You are the universe, observing and experiencing itself. The only way to navigate change is to flow with it, to become one with it, to dance with it. The scholar accumulates knowledge daily, but the one who seeks awakening unlearns something every day. The hermit knows, if you retreat into the silence of nature, far from distraction, you will discover your deep connection with everything that is. If my awareness of the past and future reduces my awareness of the now, then I must question whether I'm truly alive in the real world. Meditation teaches that the essence of life is always available in the present moment. The only wisdom you'll find at the top of the mountain is the wisdom you brought with you. Cloudy waters settle best when left undisturbed. Every intelligent person seeks to understand what drives them, yet we're all mystified by how hard it is to truly know ourselves. When questions remain forever unanswerable, we must suspect that they were wrongly asked. You'll be less anxious once you stop fearing anxiety. The same is true for guilt. If your goal is only to make money, you'll waste your life doing things you dislike, just to continue doing more things you dislike. That is a senseless way to live. When you try to control another, you simultaneously give that person power over you. Things are simply as they are. When we look into the night sky, we do not criticize stars for being misplaced. We do not judge constellations for being disordered. Philosophy arises not from cosmic order, but from humanity's restless curiosity about existence. It is the product of our yearning to understand life through the lens of reason. Yet, the concept of amor fati, the love of fate, is often misunderstood. Many confuse it with passive surrender, believing it means accepting the world's evils without resistance, silently tolerating the injustices around us. But this misrepresents the essence of Stoic wisdom. To accept reality is not to submit to it. Rather, it is to train ourselves to see the world clearly, free from personal bias or illusion. Acceptance is not passivity. It is the cultivated ability to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. When we learn to observe life without the haze of our own prejudices and expectations, we begin to grasp the truth of our circumstances. This clarity enables us to discern what lies within our control and what does not. Armed with that understanding, we can direct our will where it matters, first inwardly to shape our character, and then outwardly to influence the world if and when it is possible to do so for the better. If you truly wish to free yourself from the burdens that trouble you, you don't need to be in a different place. You need to become a different person. Genuine contentment lies in embracing the present moment, unburdened by anxious dependence on what may come. Rather than being carried away by hope or crippled by fear, we must learn to be satisfied with what we already have. That suffices. The one who lives this way desires nothing more. The deepest treasures of humanity are not external. They are found within and are within reach. A wise person accepts their fate, whatever form it takes, and asks for nothing beyond it. What then is a happy life? It is a state of mental freedom, a mind that is unshaken by fear or temptation, elevated in thought and firm in purpose. It is a mind that regards virtue as the only true good, and cowardice or corruption as the only real evil. All else, fortune, fame, material gain, is merely the shifting dust of existence. They may come and go, but they neither add to nor take away from a man's happiness. A willing spirit is always accompanied by an enduring joy, a joy born not of possessions or achievements, but from a deep harmony within, an appreciation for one's own character, and a desire for nothing beyond that. When someone wrongs you, pause and reflect on what beliefs or values led them to act as they did. If their understanding of good and evil resembles yours, then you'll find it easy to forgive, for you might have acted similarly in their place. If their moral framework differs greatly from yours, it becomes even easier to show compassion, recognizing their confusion and ignorance. In this light, offenses lose their sting. Wealth isn't about amassing possessions. True richness is found in having few desires. Don't preach your beliefs before living them. Decide first who you wish to become. Then let your actions follow that intention. If someone can provoke your anger, they've gained power over you, but only because you granted it. No one can disturb your peace unless you allow them to. There's only one sure path to happiness. Stop worrying about what lies outside your control. If something external distresses you, remember, it's not the thing itself that causes pain, but your judgment of it. And you always have the power to change that judgment. The greatest obstacle to fully living is our fixation on tomorrow. We spend our days waiting for life to begin while it passes us by. We fret over the whims of destiny and neglect what we can actually influence. Instead of wasting energy on what lies beyond us, direct your attention toward your present purpose. The future is uncertain. Life is now. Circumstances do not create a person. They reveal them. Don't hope for life to bend to your wishes. Instead, learn to welcome whatever unfolds, and you will find peace. If you want to rid yourself of anger, starve it of attention. Don't nurture the habit. Catch it in its infancy. Remain silent at first, and keep count of the days you go without losing your temper. Perhaps you'll begin by enduring one day, then 2, then 3. And if you reach 30, offer thanks to the divine. When rising from bed feels like a burden, remind yourself, you were born for this. You were made to fulfill your purpose, not to lounge under blankets and hide from duty. We fail to realize how little we truly need until we give up the excess. We often hold on to things not because they're necessary, but because we've grown accustomed to them. The words of philosophers, the ones we quote and admire, shouldn't remain on the page. They're meant to be lived. Seek out what's practical, what inspires and uplifts. Avoid what is unnecessarily ornate or archaic. Let the words you study become actions. What's most disheartening is seeing those who teach philosophy as if it were a trade, but live in contradiction to its principles. It doesn't matter what suffering you face, but how you endure it. You could leave this life at any moment. Let that fact guide everything you do, say, and think. Life, at its core, is this: separating what is within our control from what is not, so we can focus our energy wisely. Good and evil do not reside in external things, but in our own choices. That is where power lies. True happiness is found in the present, without obsessively clinging to what may or may not happen. Be content with what is. He who is satisfied in this way lacks nothing. Don't wish for events to unfold as you desire. Instead, desire that they unfold exactly as they do. That shift will bring serenity. Taoism teaches us the art of being present, rooted in the moment. Within us lies the divine, nature, and the bridge between yesterday and tomorrow. The present is infinite in motion, the sacred space of transformation. To live wisely is to adapt. Be at peace with what you have. Rejoice in what is. When you see that nothing is missing, you realize the entire world is yours. No one can possess all they want, but everyone can choose not to crave what they lack and find joy in what they already hold. Earn the respect of others by first respecting yourself. Don't expect goodness from others if you haven't cultivated it in yourself. One of humanity's greatest realizations is this: we can change our lives simply by changing our attitudes. Excellence is never an accident. It results from deliberate intent, honest effort, and intelligent execution. It is born from choosing wisely among many options. We often fear what we hear more than what we experience. Much of our suffering lives in imagination, not reality. To master the world, you must first master yourself. Don't be swept away by external events. If you truly understand this, strength will rise within you. If something isn't right, don't do it. If it isn't true, don't say it. Live with such integrity that even your enemy could know your life story without giving you cause for shame. Awakening to who you are demands letting go of who you imagined yourself to be. A person of virtue must care more about what is right than about what others think. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Let us listen more and speak less. The obstacle to action becomes the path of progress. What stands in your way becomes your way. Don't promise twice what you can achieve once. If you've made a mistake and failed to correct it, that's a second mistake. The one who has a purpose can endure almost anything. Remember that everything in existence has always followed the same patterns, endlessly repeating. And it makes no difference whether you witness these patterns play out again in 100 years, 200 years, or across infinite time. Whether someone lives a long life or dies young, they both ultimately lose the same thing, the present moment. That is all anyone can ever truly give up, because it is all anyone ever possesses. And what we do not own, we cannot lose. There are hardships that affect even the wise, such as physical pain, illness, the loss of loved ones, or the destruction of one's homeland through war. I acknowledge that even a sage feels these things. I do not demand that a person be as unfeeling as stone or iron. There is no virtue in enduring what one does not truly feel. They say this is where the fool and the wise man differ. The fool accepts such visions or experiences at face value and is deeply shaken by them. He affirms them as terrifying and worthy of fear. But the wise man, though he may initially flinch or change expression slightly, quickly regains his composure and holds fast to the principle he has always believed, that such appearances are not to be feared. The terror they inspire is based on illusion and false alarms. Life is like a military campaign. One person is assigned to guard duty, another to scouting, another to fight at the front lines. Likewise, every human life is a kind of battle, long, varied, and demanding. You must stay alert, just like a soldier, and fulfill the duties you've been given. You have not been placed in a lowly or brief position. You've been assigned a crucial post for the duration of your life. Do not wish for events to unfold the way you want them to, but instead want them to unfold just as they do. In this acceptance, your life will find harmony. The primary task in life is simply this: to learn how to clearly distinguish and separate the things under your control from those that are not. This clarity allows you to know where to seek good and avoid evil, not in the external world, which you cannot control, but within yourself, in your own choices and responses. True virtue must be pursued for its own sake, untouched by fear, hope, or any outside influence. That pursuit is the essence of happiness. What then is the art of being good? How is it achieved? It lies in understanding universal principles and in shaping one's own constitution accordingly. Of all the things within our control, the most precious and noble is this: the right use of our impressions. We should concern ourselves only with what lies within our power, and entrust all that lies beyond our grasp to the natural course of the universe. It is not things that disturb us, but the beliefs and judgments we form about them. The uninstructed person blames others for their own suffering. The one who has begun to be instructed blames only themselves. And the one who is truly wise no longer blames anyone, not others, not even themselves. Man should not go about asking what the meaning of life is. Instead, he must realize that life is asking him for a response. Every person is questioned by life, and the only valid reply is found in the way we live. We answer life through responsibility, by taking full ownership of our actions, thoughts, and responses. Let your eyes see only what they see, not what others would have you see. Let your ears listen freely to what they naturally hear, not to what others demand you hear. Let your mouth express your thoughts without being shackled by the fear of approval or disapproval. Allow your mind to think independently, free from the pressure of others' expectations. If your senses and your mind are denied the ability to function naturally, then they are being robbed of their essential rights. If you are unable to think, feel, or act freely, then your body and soul are being wounded. Cast off these burdens, and you will begin to truly live. Be careful what you nourish your dreams with. If you feed them with fear and worry, you will grow weeds that choke the life out of them. But if you nurture them with hope, optimism, and solutions, you will cultivate success. Stay ever aware of how problems can be transformed into opportunities. Stay vigilant in finding ways to support and feed your dreams. The nature of life itself is transformation. From the first shifts in the universe, the simplest elements joined to form clouds, which became solid bodies, which eventually produced the building blocks of life. These elements created living forms, and the cycle of birth and death began. Over countless ages, they configured into the precise form needed to bring you and me into being. Our lives are the crest of a wave in the ongoing cycle of formation, experience, and dissolution. And when we dissolve, the atoms of our being reorganize to make room for new life to come into existence and enjoy this experience. And so it continues, forever. The nature of the cosmos is change, from the vastness of galaxies to the tiniest particles. Most lives are improved not by grand achievements or the acquisition of luxury, but through the small daily changes in habit, waking a bit earlier, stepping outside more often, going for a walk, dusting off that neglected book, or simply being more present with the people and things we love. Though major accomplishments can also bring meaning, happiness is usually born of steady, mindful habits built over time, not fleeting moments of excitement. There's a delicate balance in how we engage with the future and the past. The future is useful for planning and preparing, but if we gaze too far ahead, we risk missing the very life we've been preparing for. The past is a powerful tool for learning, but if we dwell on it too long, we risk missing the life we were meant to live after the lesson. The future helps us plan, the past helps us learn, but life only ever happens now, in the present. When death comes, as it must for us all, the time and place will not be in my hands. If it's tomorrow, I'll meet it tomorrow. If it's in a year or 20, I'll face it then. It is in the very nature of all living things to die, regardless of our resistance. But for now, I live. And while I do, I will use the power I have, my choices, to determine how I spend the time I've been given. I do not speak to console you or to downplay your grief. If fate could be overturned by tears, then let us weep endlessly. Let each day be spent mourning and each night in restless sadness. Let your chest be beaten and your face be struck until the pain is fully expressed, if doing so would change the reality. But if the dead cannot be returned to life, no matter the extent of our grief, and if fate is fixed, beyond the reach of sorrow, then it is time to stop our mourning. Let us take hold of the wheel and guide our course. Let us not allow misfortune to steer us off course. A poor sailor is the one who lets the storm tear the rudder from his hands and surrenders the ship to the sea. But the sailor who grips the wheel and holds on, even as the waves rise and crash over him, deserves praise, even in shipwreck. Never allow anxiety about the future to disturb you. When it arrives, you will meet it with the same strength of reason and understanding that supports you today. True strength must always be tempered with gentleness. Resist too harshly, and you will snap. The wise person knows when to stand firm and when to yield. Often, success and failure hinge on our ability to bend without breaking. Those who cannot endure are the ones who suffer most. Sometimes the only choice we have is to bear our burdens patiently and wait for a better day. Solving a problem requires addressing its root, not merely its symptoms. True wisdom lies in recognizing what we do not know, not in pretending to have all the answers. To know that we do not know is clarity. To falsely believe we understand is affliction. To understand others is intelligence. To understand oneself is truth. To control others is strength. To master oneself is true power. And a branch that becomes too stiff and snaps, those who resist life without learning how to yield will ultimately break. Survival belongs not to those who serve the interests of the empire, but to those who are entrusted with the truth rooted deep within their core. The real answer lies within you. You already know who you are and what you want. Life unfolds as a series of natural and spontaneous transitions. Trying to fight against that only brings sorrow. Allow reality to be as it is. Let events unfold naturally, following the direction that resonates with your inner being. When kindness is expressed through words, it builds trust. When kindness is embedded in our thoughts, it brings depth. And when kindness is shared through generosity, it creates love. A person consumed by constant mental chatter is trapped in layers of concepts. These mental constructs act as barriers, keeping them from truly experiencing the world. That's why someone constantly lost in thought may never truly understand anything on a deeper level. No amount of anxiety will ever alter the course of what is destined to happen. Be at peace with who you are now. Don't yearn for radical change, nor fear the moment of your last breath. Don't anxiously await its arrival. Instead, reflect on this truth. In a short while, you will no longer be anyone, anywhere, or anything. All that you see around you will fade away, and those who exist now will also vanish. Everything is created by nature to transform, to shift, and to pass on, so that new things may emerge in an endless flowing cycle. Ultimately, whether there is a divine force guiding it all or everything is governed by chance. Everything remains as it should be. Do not let the randomness of life control you. Instead, learn to rise above it. So, I strive for the best while staying prepared for anything. Whatever happens, I accept it as sacred, natural, not something foreign or hard to handle, but something familiar and manageable. There is only one true path to happiness. Stop worrying about what lies beyond your control. A fulfilling life is only possible when we learn to tame our desires and see how fleeting and shallow they truly are. No person is truly free unless he governs himself. True wealth isn't found in having many possessions, but in needing very little. If someone doesn't appreciate what they already have, even owning the whole world won't make them happy. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned in harmony, life becomes simpler, and anxiety and fear begin to disappear. It is time to stop being idle. If you aspire to become someone extraordinary, then you must commit to growth. If your aim is wisdom, then clearly define the type of person you want to become. If you're truly in search of truth, you won't chase victory by any means necessary. And once you've discovered truth, you won't fear being proven wrong. Let silence be your default setting, and when you do speak, let it only be what is truly needed. Above all, begin by knowing who you are. Then, guide yourself toward the person you desire to become. Take the necessary steps to align your life accordingly. Circumstances don't define a person. They merely expose who we really are. Freedom is the only worthy pursuit in life. It is attained by releasing concern for things that lie outside our control. While we may not have the power to choose our external conditions, we always hold the power to decide how we will respond to them. Don't talk endlessly about your beliefs. Live them. In a world overflowing with health tips and wellness advice, very few people pause to reflect on something as fundamental as water. Drinking water might seem like a simple act, right? But the reality is that the vast majority, about 99% of people, aren't even aware that there's a right way to do it. I invite you to stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover could enrich every area of your life. If this is your first time on my channel, I kindly ask you to subscribe, give a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and share this video with others. Your support helps me continue creating content like this, dedicated to your growth and well-being. Drinking water isn't only about quantity, it's also about the timing, the manner, and the awareness with which we do it. These seemingly small factors can have a significant impact on our energy, our health, and our overall well-being. Together, we will explore how something so basic can carry such a deep influence on our lives, if only we learn how to approach it correctly. I encourage you to listen closely from the beginning, letting your mind gently settle into each word. It's important to watch this video all the way through, as every part holds insights essential to your personal development. In this episode, we present an illustrated story to help you truly understand the power of water and how drinking it the right way can bring about positive transformation in your life. Through this story, you'll find yourself relating to everyday situations as we dive deeper into the meaningful lessons behind how our water drinking habits affect our well-being. These teachings aim to help you reconnect with the act of drinking water, not just as a necessity, but as a conscious ritual that opens the door to a healthier, more balanced, and more mindful life. Let's begin. It was a hot, sun-soaked day, the kind where the sky stretched endlessly in a brilliant blue and the sun stood tall above the city. The towering concrete buildings seemed to blur into the skyline, while a public park emerged like a peaceful oasis amid the chaos. Majestic, old trees bordered the pathways, their wide branches forming a protective canopy that cast dappled shadows along the ground. At the heart of the park stood an old stone fountain, its crystal-clear streams of water glittering beneath the sunlight. Luis, a man in his 30s, arrived at the park, already drenched with sweat from the intensity of his morning workout. His dark, curly hair stuck to his forehead, and his grey tracksuit clung damply to his back. Luis lived his life in a constant loop. Wake up, hit the gym, rush to work, grab a quick bite, repeat. Free time for him was just another opportunity to get ahead on emails, meetings, or his endless to-do list. As he entered the park, he was still glued to his phone, replying to work messages, planning his next steps, barely noticing the peaceful world around him. He settled onto an old, worn-out wooden bench next to the fountain and sighed. Without looking up, he reached into his backpack and pulled out a plastic water bottle, hastily purchased from a nearby shop. The faint sound of the cap twisting open was lost in the ambient hum of the fountain and distant birdsong. As always, Luis drank in rushed gulps, barely tasting the water as it coursed down his throat. Not far from him, a man stood silently, observing with eyes that missed nothing. He wore a simple white linen shirt and loose-fitting brown pants, perfect for the warmth of the day. His hair, snowy white, caught the sunlight, and a short beard framed his gentle, time-worn face. His deep-set eyes, shadowed by countless wrinkles, radiated an unshakable serenity, as if the world could not unsettle him. This man was Don Esteban. He had been watching Luis, not judging, but noticing. The hurried way Luis drank water, disconnected and mechanical, reminded him of something he had long since learned, something few people still remembered. He stood there for a moment, thoughtful, and then walked toward the bench, his movements slow and purposeful. When he was close enough, he spoke, not loud, but clear enough to be heard over the hum of the city. "That's not the way to drink water," he said gently, cutting through Luis's mental fog. Startled, Luis looked up, setting his phone aside. His eyes met the older man's calm, steady gaze. For a brief second, he didn't know what to think. Who was this stranger, and why did he care how Luis drank water? "Excuse me?" Luis asked, more puzzled than offended. "The water," repeated Don Esteban, his voice kind and even. It's not something to consume in a rush, like a task to be checked off your list. Drinking water is an art. It's one of the most vital ways we nourish not only our bodies, but also our spirits. It's not just about quenching thirst. Luis raised an eyebrow. He had heard his share of unusual philosophies in his time, but this, calling water, drinking an art, sounded like something lifted from the pages of a self-help book. Still, something about the old man's presence made it hard to dismiss. He wasn't dramatic or eccentric or trying to preach. He simply seemed to know something that Luis didn't. "I didn't know there was a right way to drink water," Luis replied, his tone skeptical but open. "That's exactly the problem," Don Esteban said with a small smile. "In today's world, we've forgotten the simple things. Everything has become rushed and transactional. But there is deep wisdom in the basics, and water, it is the most essential of them all. It deserves our attention and respect." Luis listened, not entirely convinced, but also not turning away. Something about the words struck a nerve. Maybe it was true. He lived fast. Too fast. He didn't stop to appreciate the small things anymore. But wasn't that normal? Wasn't that just life? "And what do you suggest?" Luis asked, unsure why he was continuing the conversation. "I suggest something very simple," the old man said, his voice as calm as ever. "Come with me, just for a little while. Let me show you what many have forgotten about water." Luis blinked, caught off guard. The whole thing felt a little strange, random even, but a part of him, a quiet inner voice, told him he had nothing to lose. There were no urgent meetings, no looming deadlines, and curiosity, long buried under daily grind, flickered inside him once more. "All right," he said finally, slipping the bottle back into his bag. "But if this gets too weird, I'm out." Don Esteban chuckled, a warm, inviting sound. "Don't worry, young man. I won't take you far. Just far enough for you to discover something new." With those words, the old man turned and began walking. Luis glanced around the park one last time, then stood up and followed. As they moved away from the fountain and down a more secluded path, Luis wondered what this journey would reveal. Could there really be more to something as ordinary as water? Don Esteban led the way through a tree-lined path, the noise of the city fading behind them with each step. After a few minutes of peaceful walking, they reached a small wooden cabin nestled at the edge of the park. Nature wrapped itself around the structure, with moss-covered walls and a lush garden of medicinal herbs growing in tidy, intentional patterns, clearly cared for by a skilled hand. Inside, the cabin radiated a comforting warmth. A stone fireplace glowed in the back, above which rested an antique ceramic teapot. The rich scent of herbs blended with the aroma of firewood, enveloping the room in a sense of timelessness and calm. It was as if the modern world had been left far behind. Luis looked around, taking in the shelves lined with glass jars full of dried plants and the vintage kitchen tools hanging neatly on the walls, relics of a slower, more deliberate era. Something in the air made him feel like he had stepped into another world, one where every detail mattered and every action carried meaning. And here, in this space of stillness, he began to understand. Maybe water really was more than just water. Don Esteban invited him to sit at a rustic wooden table, aged and weathered by time, but still standing firm. Luis, however, remained silent and did not take a seat. The old man calmly prepared 2 glasses of water, one filled with warm water that released a delicate steam, and the other with water so cold it gathered tiny droplets of condensation on the outside of the glass. Luis watched quietly, intrigued by what was about to unfold. "Drink the cold water first," Don Esteban said, pointing to the frosted glass. Luis, slightly skeptical, yet obedient, reached for the cold glass. The crisp liquid slid quickly down his throat, bringing a momentary sense of relief. But almost immediately, he noticed a slight discomfort in his stomach. Something didn't feel quite right. "Now try the warm one," Don Esteban said, his voice soft yet firm with conviction. Luis set down the cold glass and picked up the warm one. This time he sipped more slowly, allowing the gentle warmth of the water to flow through his body. It didn't deliver the immediate refreshment that the cold water had, but as it went down, he experienced an unexpected calm. His entire body seemed to relax, as if each cell welcomed the soothing temperature. "Do you notice it?" asked Don Esteban, his eyes watching Luis with quiet intensity. "It's different," Luis replied thoughtfully. "The warm water feels gentler, more comforting. The cold one refreshed me at first, but now my stomach feels a bit unsettled." The old man nodded, clearly satisfied with the response. Water, like many things in life, has its time and its manner of being received. Cold water, though it may seem like the invigorating choice, can actually shock the body. Warm water, however, moves in harmony with your system, helping it find its balance, especially in the mornings when your body is just waking up. It's important not to jolt it abruptly. Luis nodded as the lesson began to sink in. He recalled the many times he had gulped down ice-cold water after a run, only to feel uncomfortable moments later, like something inside didn't sit well. He had never really considered how water temperature might affect his body. "So, should I stop drinking cold water altogether?" Luis asked, still slightly confused. "There's no need to avoid it entirely," Don Esteban responded. "But it's essential to know when and how to drink it. In the mornings, when your body is most open and sensitive, warm water is your ally. During hot days, cold water can have its place, but always in moderation. The key lies in knowing what your body needs at any given moment. And that," he added gently, "requires attention and respect." Luis leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on the fire crackling in the hearth. Something as simple as drinking water, something he had always done without a second thought, suddenly felt deeply meaningful. A quiet sense of gratitude welled up within him, directed toward this old man who had, with just a few gestures and words, opened a doorway to something so fundamental yet so overlooked. "It's strange," Luis murmured after a while. "I always thought water was just water, something we drink because we need to. I never imagined there could be so much behind it." "Life is full of small details we overlook," Don Esteban replied with a faint smile. "And it's in those small details that true wisdom often hides. When you start paying attention to the basics, like water, you'll begin to discover a vast realm of knowledge waiting to be understood." A comfortable silence settled between them, different from earlier. Luis stared at the glass of warm water before him, feeling a new and unexpected connection to it. This simple element he had always taken for granted. Deep within him, something began to shift. A small spark of awareness, long dormant, was now stirring. Don Esteban stood up slowly and walked to a nearby window, looking out into the garden where medicinal plants swayed softly in the morning breeze. His voice grew gentler, almost as though speaking to himself, yet clearly meant for Luis. "Water is life. It surrounds us, nourishes us, and sometimes, if we listen, it teaches us. Never underestimate its power." If you can begin to understand something as simple and essential as water, you will find yourself understanding much more about who you are. Luis, still holding the warm glass in his hand, couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter, this seemingly ordinary moment, was the beginning of something far greater than he had anticipated. This meeting with Don Esteban and the lesson of water felt like the threshold of a new perspective on life. The next morning, Luis awoke to the gentle sound of birds singing just outside the cabin. A cool morning breeze drifted through the open window, carrying with it a scent that was fresh and revitalizing. Still feeling the traces of sleep, he slowly sat up in the wooden bed Don Esteban had offered him for the night. Despite the rustic setting, he had slept better than he ever did in his city apartment. As he stood up and peered into the small adjoining room, he saw Don Esteban engaged in what appeared to be a daily ritual. Before a small altar made of intricately carved wood stood a single glass of warm water. Candles flickered softly around it, casting a warm glow, and smooth river stones formed a protective circle around the base. The old man, dressed in a simple linen tunic, stepped toward the altar with quiet reverence. He paused for a moment, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Then, with steady hands, he lifted the glass and took a slow, measured sip, as if the water contained something sacred. Luis watched silently, captivated by the deliberate grace of the act. To him, water had never been more than a way to quench his thirst, something done mindlessly. But watching Don Esteban, he saw something else. There was purpose, there was reverence, and there was meaning beyond the physical act. "Why do you do that?" Luis asked, his voice rough from just waking up. Don Esteban turned to him with a slight smile, then looked back at the water, holding it up to the light pouring through the window. "Water," he began in his calm, slow tone, "is life. Without it, nothing survives. But it's not only the act of drinking that matters, it's when and how you drink it. This is the first glass I have every morning. Before anything else enters my body, I offer it thanks. It's my way of preparing for the day." Luis furrowed his brow, stepping closer to the altar. Something about this ritual fascinated him. He gazed at the glass, as though it had suddenly acquired a significance he had never noticed before. "Why is it so important to drink water right after waking up?" he asked. "Because after hours of sleep, your body is dehydrated," Don Esteban explained, gently placing the glass back on the altar. "Your organs need to be gently reawakened. Warm water helps to do that without shocking the system. Drinking it on an empty stomach not only hydrates you, but also aids in cleansing the body. It jumpstarts your metabolism and helps remove toxins." Luis stood quietly, taking in the old man's words. He recalled all the rushed mornings when he left his apartment without a drop of water until much later, usually at the office or while hurrying through the day. "I always figured I'd just drink water when I felt thirsty," he admitted, feeling slightly embarrassed. "That's what most people do," Don Esteban replied kindly. "But the body doesn't always know how to ask for what it truly needs. Thirst is often a sign that you're already dehydrated. What I'm trying to show you is how to be one step ahead. Drinking water at the right times isn't just about satisfying thirst. It's an act of care and intention." He gestured to the glass still glowing in the morning light. "This glass, the one I drink upon waking, it's the most important of the day. But it's also crucial to drink water before meals. Doing so prepares your digestive system and helps the body process food more efficiently. Water works like a lubricant, helping your organs function smoothly. If you wait until after eating, it can actually dilute the digestive juices and interfere with digestion. Luis nodded slowly, each word adding to the growing realization. He thought of all the times he had downed large glasses of water right after meals, thinking he was helping his body, when in reality he might have been making digestion harder. "So when should I avoid drinking water?" he asked, hoping to avoid repeating past mistakes. "It's best not to drink large amounts during meals," Don Esteban answered. "A few small sips are fine, but ideally, drink before you eat. It's all about timing and balance." He reflected on all the times he had consumed large amounts of water immediately after eating, believing he was aiding his digestion, when in reality he may have been doing just the opposite. Curious and determined not to repeat the same mistake, he asked, "So, when should I avoid drinking water?" Don Esteban answered with calm clarity, "It's better to avoid drinking large quantities of water during meals. Small sips are fine, but ideally, water should be taken before eating, as I mentioned earlier. The same goes for bedtime. It's best not to drink too much water before sleeping. Your body needs to rest, not work to process it through the night." Luis sat in thoughtful silence, taking in what he had just heard. He had never really stopped to consider these small details. To him, water had always been something routine, simply a necessity to quench thirst. But now, he was beginning to realize that there was much more to this daily act than he had ever imagined. The quiet in the cabin was only broken by the gentle crackling of firewood in the fireplace. Don Esteban turned to Luis with a knowing look. "Satisfaction isn't just about when you drink water," he added, "but how you drink it." The old man's tone was filled with meaning. Each sip should be taken with care. Water is a reminder that the simplest things in life can carry deep significance if we learn to appreciate them. Luis nodded slowly, recognizing that he still had much to learn. What had initially felt like an unusual meeting was now starting to bring him answers to questions he hadn't even known he carried. The connection between the body and the mind, something as simple as drinking water at the right time, had unveiled a whole dimension of life he had never explored. He rose from his seat and walked over to the altar, his face thoughtful as he looked at the glass of water Don Esteban had placed there. He picked it up slowly, mimicking the way he had seen the old man do earlier. This time, instead of drinking hastily, he took a small, deliberate sip, feeling the warm water slide gently down his throat. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to be fully present in that moment. No rush, no distractions, just him and the water. The morning sun filtered through the trees, casting soft, dancing shadows on the moist earth. Esteban and Luis stood in the back garden of the cabin, a place alive with color and movement. The garden was a testament to natural harmony, with plants of all sizes and shades, some thriving in full bloom, while others were just beginning to bud. Every part of it seemed to have been tended with care, as if each plant was essential to the balance of the whole. With his usual calm presence, Esteban handed Luis a watering can. The metal was warm from the sun, and although the can appeared small, it felt heavy with water. Luis looked at the old man with a curious expression, unsure of what he was about to be taught next. "I want you to water these plants," Don Esteban instructed, gesturing toward the rows of vibrant vegetation that spread out before them. "But do it with care. Observe how much water each one needs." Luis nodded, trying to follow the instructions. He knelt before the first plant, a small succulent, and let a stream of water fall over its thick leaves. The plant seemed content, letting the water glide over its surface without absorbing much. Then He moved to a bush with delicate white flowers, and later to a taller plant. When he watered that one, he noticed how quickly the water vanished into the thirsty soil around it. "Do you see the difference?" Don Esteban asked from nearby, watching him closely. Luis nodded, captivated by what he was observing. Some plants only needed a little water, while others seemed desperate for more. The difference was subtle, but crucial. "Each plant is different," Esteban continued. "Some have deep roots, some shallow. Some are used to dry conditions. Others need constant moisture. If you water them all the same way, some will drown, while others will dry out. Our bodies are the same. Not everyone needs the same amount of water. It's important to learn how to listen to the signs your body gives you." Luis paused, absorbing the wisdom. He had always believed that everyone needed a set amount of water each day, as if human bodies followed identical rules. But now, seeing how each plant responded differently, he began to understand the complexity of the human body in a new light. "How do I know how much water my body needs?" Luis asked, as he carefully continued watering the plants. Don Esteban smiled gently, as though he had been waiting for that question. "Your body will tell you," he said, "but only if you are willing to listen. Thirst is an obvious signal, yes, but it's not the only one. Your skin, your energy levels, even your digestion can reveal whether you're drinking enough. It's not about a fixed number. It's about paying attention to how your body feels." Luis paused, watching the water seep into the earth, nourishing the hidden roots beneath the surface. He realized how often he had ignored his own body's signals, simply following a behavior pattern that seemed normal. Drinking water had always been a habit, but never a conscious one. "Look at this plant," Don Esteban said, pointing to a young sprout with bright green leaves. "If you overwater it, the roots will rot. If you don't give it enough, it'll dry out. Everything in life needs balance, and water is no exception. You are like this plant. If you learn to understand what you need, you'll live in harmony with your body." Luis tilted the watering can and let the water flow gently this time, watching as the soil slowly absorbed it. The air around them felt fresh, revitalized. It was as if every drop held a deeper meaning, each act of watering a small contribution with unseen significance. "So there's no exact amount to follow?" Luis asked, seeking more clarity. "Not for everyone," Esteban responded. "Yes, there are general recommendations, of course, but your body is unique. Some people need more water, others less. It depends on your activity, your diet, even your emotional state. Drinking water with awareness isn't just about satisfying thirst. It's about nurturing every part of you." Luis set the watering can down and looked around. Every plant in that garden was a reflection of Don Esteban's teachings, that life, in all its forms, had specific needs. Water, which he had once taken for granted, now carried a deeper, almost sacred meaning. "It's strange," Luis said after a quiet moment. "Before I met you, I never thought of water this way. Drinking it was automatic, just something to do and move on. But now I see it differently. It's about balance. It's a connection between the body and the world around us." Don Esteban nodded, pleased by Luis's insight. That's what many people have forgotten. We live in a world of excess, where we believe more is always better. But sometimes, what we truly need is less. Less quantity, but more mindfulness. Less urgency, but greater attention. If you understand this with water, you'll begin to understand it in many other areas of life as well. Luis knelt down and touched the cool, moist soil beneath him, feeling its texture against his skin. The garden, with its stillness and vitality, had become a living metaphor, a reminder that every drop of water, every plant, every deliberate act held a purpose deeper than he had ever realized. "So," Luis said thoughtfully, "the key is to listen to my body and to my surroundings." "Exactly," Esteban replied. "And remember, it's not just about how much water you drink, but also how and when you do it. If you can learn to pay attention to those subtle signs, you'll find yourself becoming more in tune, not only with your own body, but also with the world around you." Luis smiled softly, experiencing an inner peace that had long eluded him. In that garden, surrounded by the vibrant presence of life, the simple act of watering plants had become something deeper, a lesson about harmony and mindful presence. He knew that this moment, this teaching, would linger with him far beyond the confines of that day. It had changed something in him, altering the way he would see something as ordinary yet vital as water. 5. The right way to drink water. The sun was beginning its descent, casting golden light across the garden as Luis and Don Esteban returned to the quiet cabin. Their walk among the plants had left Luis deep in thought. Each creak of the wooden floor beneath his feet as he stepped inside made him feel like he was entering a sacred space. Don Esteban's earlier words still lingered in the air, echoing the peaceful energy of their surroundings. Inside the cabin, there was a stillness that felt almost sacred, soft and enveloping. Only the gentle song of birds and the whispering wind slipping through the nearby trees broke the silence. Don Esteban motioned to a carved wooden chair beside a rustic table. The chair looked sturdy, almost ancient, yet it gave off a warm feeling, as if its surface, worn by time, held many stories. On the table, a single glass of water sat, positioned perfectly where a shaft of sunlight from the window bathed it in gentle light. The glass sparkled, casting delicate flickers that lit up the space with an almost otherworldly glow. Luis couldn't take his eyes off it. From the window's glow down to the glass itself, the once simple object now carried a profound sense of significance. "Sit," Don Esteban said gently, his voice as calm and steady as ever. Luis did as he was told, easing into the chair. The glass of water seemed as though it had been waiting just for him. Don Esteban sat down nearby, his calm gaze steady and grounding. "Today," he began, "I want to share with you one of the most important lessons about water." His tone was soft, almost ceremonial. The way we drink is just as important as how much we drink and when we do it. Many people consume water without a thought, mindlessly, like it's nothing more than a tool to quench thirst. But water is life itself. It deserves our respect. Luis nodded slowly, recalling earlier teachings about balance and listening to the body's cues. But now the atmosphere had shifted. Don Esteban wasn't just speaking about water in terms of health. He was speaking of it as something sacred, a deeper experience, almost a ritual. "I want you to drink this glass of water," he said, pointing to it. "But do so slowly, with full awareness. Don't drink just to quench your thirst. Drink to feel, to truly experience." Luis picked up the glass, feeling its weight and the coolness of the water within. The chill of the glass contrasted with the warmth of his fingers. He marveled at how the water shimmered in the light, each tiny movement sending soft ripples across the surface. He brought the glass to his lips and took a careful sip. The sensation was different. It wasn't just the coolness or the taste, it was the texture, the smooth flow of the water down his throat. Each sip became a full-body experience, a sensory encounter from the moment the water touched his lips to the instant it disappeared within him. He took another sip, this time closing his eyes to deepen his focus. The water moved gently through him, not just hydrating him, but bringing a sense of mental clarity. For the first time, drinking water wasn't something automatic. It was a practice in mindfulness, a way of anchoring himself fully in the present. "When you drink water like this," Don Esteban said, "you're remembering your connection to nature. This water has journeyed through rivers, fallen as rain, flowed beneath the earth. Before arriving here in your hands, every drop reminds you that you're part of a greater cycle, the same life-giving rhythm that sustains all living things." Luis opened his eyes, meeting Don Esteban's gaze. The old man's words struck a chord within him. Water was no longer just a necessity. It had become a gesture of reverence, a moment to honor the miracle of life. "Why have I never thought of it this way before?" Luis asked in a whisper, almost afraid to disturb the sacred silence of the moment. Don Esteban gave a gentle smile, his expression full of warmth and understanding. "Because we live in a world that's forgotten how to appreciate the small things. We chase after the grand, the visible, and we overlook the details that carry the deepest truths. Breathing, water, touching the earth. These are simple acts that bind us to life itself, if we are only willing to notice." Luis nodded slowly, feeling a shift within himself. With every sip, something in him was realigning. Water, once taken for granted, had become a vessel for something greater. As he drank, sunlight played through the glass, casting shimmering patterns into the air. The soft sound of swallowing mingled with birdsong outside the cabin, forming a quiet symphony of peace and presence. "Water is also a teacher," Don Esteban continued. "It teaches us to be patient, to move with grace. No matter how many obstacles it meets, it finds a way forward, slowly, steadily, without force. If you can learn to drink water with awareness, you'll also learn to live with that same mindfulness." Luis took the final sip, setting the now empty glass gently on the table. But this time, the act didn't bring the usual feeling of physical relief. Instead, he felt gratitude, deep and humbling, for every drop that had passed through him. A sense of fullness washed over him, not of the body, but of the spirit. "Why does everything here feel like it holds a deeper meaning?" Luis asked, gazing at Don Esteban. The old man leaned back in his chair, folding his hands serenely in his lap. "Because that's what life is. When you look closely, everything, every moment, every action, every object holds meaning. What seems simple, like drinking a glass of water, can become a doorway to a greater understanding of yourself and the world." Luis looked once more at the empty glass, but it no longer appeared as it had before. Something in him had changed. He now saw how life was revealed in the little things, in those small yet powerful acts that connect us to what truly matters. Drinking water, an act he had done countless times without thought, had now become sacred. The silence that filled the cabin wasn't awkward or empty. It was a stillness that invited reflection, a silence full of meaning. Luis understood now that he hadn't just drunk a glass of water. He had absorbed a lesson about presence, awareness, and above all, a deep respect for the essence of life. 6. What you never imagined about water. You never imagined water could hold such power. The air of the forest was cool and clean, carrying the earthy scent of moss and damp soil. Don Esteban walked quietly ahead of Luis, guiding him along a narrow, barely visible path through the trees. Every step seemed to echo through the woods, as though nature itself was acknowledging their presence with a reverent hush. Leaves rustled underfoot, while golden sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting glowing patches onto the forest floor. Luis couldn't shake the feeling that they were entering a sacred realm, something beyond the ordinary world. "We're almost there," Don Esteban said softly, not bothering to turn around. Luis nodded instinctively, even though he knew the old man couldn't see the gesture. He continued forward, a calm anticipation building within him. He felt as though something deep, something long hidden, was waiting just ahead. After several quiet minutes, they stepped into a secluded clearing, hidden deep within the forest. There, surrounded by moss-covered stones, flowed a small spring of crystal-clear water. The sound of water gliding over smooth stones filled the air with a gentle, unbroken whisper. The space radiated peace, a stillness so complete it felt sacred. "This spring has been here for generations," Don Esteban explained, stopping near the edge of the water. "Its purity remains untouched by human hands. The villagers come here, not just to draw water, but to find peace." Luis stared at the water as it flowed with a serene, almost hypnotic rhythm. Sunlight played across its surface, creating luminous reflections that danced over the rocks. There was something deeply mystical about the spring, as if it held secrets passed down through time, just waiting to be uncovered. "This is the perfect place," Don Esteban continued, kneeling beside the spring, "to teach you something many have forgotten." He gestured for Luis to join him. "Water doesn't just nourish our bodies, it can also nourish our souls, if we learn how to truly connect with it." His knees sank gently into the soft earth as he stood still, watching Don Esteban extend his hands toward the spring. The old man allowed the water to run over his fingers before lifting it slowly to his lips. "Did you know that water has memory?" Don Esteban asked, his gaze serious. Serena and Luis exchanged glances, and Luis looked at him with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. "I've heard something like that," he admitted, "but I never really believed it." Don Esteban offered a soft, knowing smile. "That's understandable in the world we live in today. We've forgotten that nature has its own language. The ancient ones understood something we've lost, that water can hold intentions, that it can respond to our emotions and thoughts. It's not just poetic or mystical thinking. Even modern science is beginning to investigate this idea. But beyond the scientific aspect, it's a deeper way to connect with the world around us." The old man dipped both hands into the spring again, lifting them full of fresh, cool water. He held it gently before Luis, asking him to feel its energy before taking a sip. "Take a moment to give thanks," he advised. Luis hesitated, but mimicked the gesture. At first, the water felt simply cold and fresh, but as he paid closer attention, he sensed something else. A softness in its flow, a vibrant quality he hadn't noticed before. It was still water, yes, but it seemed to possess its own quiet presence, a kind of awareness. It felt alive. "When you drink water," Don Esteban continued, "you're not just hydrating your body, you're taking in life energy itself. And that energy is influenced by your mental state, your thoughts, your emotions. That's why it's so important to fill the water with positive intentions before you drink." Luis said nothing, simply watching the old man, sensing he was on the edge of a new understanding. "How do you do that?" he asked, his curiosity deepening. Closing his eyes briefly, Don Esteban held the water with reverence. "You speak to it. not necessarily with words, but with your heart. Thank the water for what it's about to do for you, for its purity, for its ability to nourish you. Tell your body that it will receive this energy in a healthy, renewing way. In doing so, you build a deeper relationship with what you consume, a connection that reaches far beyond the physical. Luis closed his eyes as well, following the old man's lead. Holding the water in his hands, unsure if he was doing it right, he simply let his thoughts come. "Thank you," he thought silently. "Thank you for this moment, for this purity. Let this water nourish me and fill me with life." When he opened his eyes, he looked at the water still cupped in his hands and, for the first time, felt a genuine connection to it. He drank slowly, feeling the coolness slide down his throat. But this time, it wasn't just water. It felt like energy, a direct link between himself and the natural world surrounding him. "Did you feel it?" Don Esteban asked with a warm, approving smile. Luis nodded, unable to fully put into words what he had just experienced. "It felt strange," he confessed. "I never imagined water like this. I always saw it as something basic, necessary. But now, it feels like something more." "That's because it is," said Don Esteban. "Water is life, not just for your body, but for your spirit as well. This spring, for example, has been here for centuries, offering not only water, but a sacred space for peace and reflection. What the ancients believed wasn't mere superstition, it was wisdom. They understood that everything in nature is connected, that energy exists in all things, even in something as ordinary as water." Luis remained quiet for a while, watching the stream as it continued to glide effortlessly over the rocks. Each word from Don Esteban felt like an echo from some ancient truth, something long forgotten by the modern world, but still quietly present, waiting to be remembered. "So, you really think our emotions can change the water?" he finally asked. Don Esteban nodded slowly. "I don't just believe it. I've seen it. When we drink with gratitude, when we form a conscious connection with what we consume, something within us transforms. Water becomes a mirror of that intention, and its power is heightened. It's not magic, it's nature responding to awareness." Luis turned to look at the spring once more. It no longer appeared to be just a natural feature. He saw it now as something more, an ancient teacher, a source not only of hydration, but of wisdom and energy. He felt a wave of deep gratitude for being here, for learning something he had never even considered before. As they rose to head back to the cabin, Luis looked at Don Esteban with new respect. He realized that this was only the beginning of a far deeper connection with life and with the world that surrounded him. The sun had begun its descent, casting golden and amber hues across the horizon as Luis and Don Esteban made their way back through the forest. What had once felt like an unknown and mysterious place now seemed to embrace them, a warm refuge, a sanctuary of peace. The trees swayed gently in the evening breeze, and the steady murmur of the nearby stream accompanied them like an old, familiar song. Upon reaching the cabin, Don Esteban settled onto a worn wooden bench beside the stream. Without a word, Luis sat beside him. The gentle sound of the flowing water filled the air, a soothing reminder of the stillness he had recently discovered within himself. Both remained silent for a time, simply listening to the continuous flow of the water as daylight faded. The silence was finally broken by Don Esteban's voice, as soft as the stream itself. "Water never stops. It never resists. It adapts, finds its path around obstacles, and keeps moving forward. That's how we must be. Luis turned toward him slowly, listening intently. He sensed that this was the heart of everything Don Esteban had been teaching him. "What do you mean exactly?" he asked, although deep inside he was already beginning to understand. "Look at the water," said Don Esteban, gesturing to the stream at their feet. "It doesn't complain when it meets a stone. It doesn't stop or turn back. It simply adjusts, finds its way over or around, and continues onward. Water is soft, yet constant. That's its real strength." Luis watched the stream with new eyes. The water flowed on, unconcerned by the pebbles, roots, or turns in its path. Every obstacle was navigated with grace, not resistance. It was as if the water understood that, regardless of the twists and turns, it would eventually reach its destination. "Life," Don Esteban continued, "is filled with obstacles. But how we respond to them, that's what determines our journey. If you meet challenges with rigidity and a closed mind, they will break you. But if you learn to flow like water, to adapt without losing your essence, then you can overcome anything." Luis remained silent, letting the old man's words settle inside him. He knew they were true. He had spent so much of his life resisting, fighting circumstances, trying to control outcomes. But now, watching the endless current of the stream, he realized there was another way to live. "How do you do that?" he finally asked, barely above a whisper. "How do you learn to flow?" Don Esteban gave a gentle smile, as if the answer were both simple and profound. "Listen, observe, and let go," he said calmly. "Water doesn't cling to any shape, and it doesn't try to force a result. It just moves. In the same way, you must learn to accept what life brings. Be present, without holding on to how you think things should be. Keep your heart and your mind open." Luis remembered everything he had been taught. The mindful way of drinking water, the precise amount his body truly needed, the sacred bond with nature. It all seemed now like threads in a much larger tapestry, a message about life itself. Life, like water, is fluid, ever-changing, ever-moving. "The key," Don Esteban said, "is to live in the present. When you cling to the past or worry about the future, you lose your ability to flow. You end up swimming against the current. But when you learn to be here, now, to accept what is, then you become like water, able to move through life with grace." Luis felt a deep, unfamiliar peace settle within him. For the first time, he truly grasped that all of Don Esteban's teachings wasn't solely about the nature of water. It was always about something deeper, something greater. His lessons were metaphors for life itself. Water, in its simplicity and strength, had become a mirror for how I should approach existence, with fluidity, with grace. In the gentle flow of the stream, I began to understand the importance of adaptability and the quiet power of gratitude. The silence that followed our conversation wasn't awkward or empty. It was serene, filled with understanding. The men remained still, gazing at the ever-moving stream, a steady, living symbol of nature's rhythm, of time pressing forward, and of life's relentless journey. Luis, standing there, experienced something profound within himself. Something shifted. What had started as a simple day of learning about water had become something transformative. He was no longer the same man who had begun the morning. Life, he realized, wasn't about trying to control every detail. It wasn't about resisting the winds of change or battling every twist of fate. Sometimes life takes you down paths you never expected, said Don Esteban gently, as though he were speaking directly to the thoughts forming in Luis's heart. And in those moments, you must remember, like water, you will always find your way, even if it's not the path you imagined. Luis closed his eyes, letting those words sink deep into his spirit. The wisdom of the old man wasn't just heard, it was felt. He understood now that true strength didn't lie in standing firm against the current, but in learning how to move with it. Life, like water, was wild, unpredictable, and full of unknowns, but it was also rich with potential. If he could learn to flow with it, to move without force, without clinging, without fear, then perhaps he could find peace, even when life grew difficult. The sound of the creek played on, soft and unwavering, like the gentle pulse of nature itself. Luis opened his eyes and looked at Don Esteban, his gaze filled with quiet gratitude and newfound respect. He didn't need grand words to express what he felt. A simple, heartfelt thank you was enough. Don Esteban nodded, his expression calm and knowing. He could see that Luis had finally grasped the last lesson. Without another word, they rose from the wooden bench and began walking back to the cabin. The day was drawing to a close, the sun slowly retreating behind the trees. But for Luis, what he had learned that day would remain with him always. He had come to understand how to drink water, but more than that, he had learned how to truly live. To live with awareness, with deep appreciation, and most importantly, with the ability to move through life like water. Not clinging, not resisting, simply flowing. The sound of the stream stayed with him, not just in his ears, but in his heart. A constant reminder that would echo through every step of his journey. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps YouTube recognize that content like this truly makes a difference, and it allows us to continue creating more videos that inspire, uplift, and guide people just like you.